Before we get started tonight, I see we have a very large public delegation, which is awesome. If you're here in regards to the land use bylaw review, the meeting for that is on the 23rd. We will not be entertaining anything tonight with that. If you're here about the land use amendment on the lot over here, you're more than welcome to be involved, and we'll move along. Call the meeting to order at 6 o'clock. Motion to accept the agenda as presented. Council Warwick, all in favor? Carried. We have several delegations tonight. We have Harvest Sky. Trevor?
It's not a good spot to.
No. Hello, everyone. Thank you for your time tonight. I will try to keep my part of this brief. So if you have any questions, then we'll have more time for that. As we sent the report ahead of time, most of everything I have to say is in there. It's the last year has been fantastic for us. The takeover and then the relaunch with the new name has gone over wildly positively. And community support has been outrageous, far beyond what I ever could have expected. So it's been fantastic. As far as the hard numbers, stuff to note on our projected budget for next year that was sent in your packages. The earliest next casino fundraiser we do, which is the biggest fundraiser we do, would be spring of 2024. But because of COVID, it's still affecting that list. It could be even later. It probably will be even later for us. And so you can see in our projected budget, that money is no longer accounted for because we split it for the 3-year interval that we usually have for those casinos. And that ended last year, was the last year for that 3-year split. Yeah, we're hoping to keep the animals around 20 to 25. Our facility rent, which is always a question that comes up, is $13.50 a month currently. There's some numbers that we've just since September of last year, because of the limited budget and space we have, we had to redirect almost 60 cats and 12 dogs just since the end of September last year. This year, it's 5 cats, 2 from Hanna, and 4 dogs, none of which were from town here, or pardon me, 1 was from town here today. Of course.
Redirect them to where?
We're sending them to Peggy's or the Drumheller Humane or Brooks Animal, or it depends where they are. We kind of try to send them
What kind of
to.
capacity they have.
And does that cost you anything?
It doesn't, no.
Thank you.
We do have a surrender wait list that we're trying to work through. As far as I know, I'll find out an update tonight. 41 cats and 0 dogs. 17 of the cats are from this area. Positive news, we have 25 active volunteers, which I think is a record in the history of the entire thing. So that's very cool. And then the one thing everybody wants to know that I was asked to actually come and present on this year was what sort of grant we were going to request. And this year we are going to request $10,000. It is an increase compared to last year. We're looking at purchasing a new building in the next few years. That'll take some time to get those funds together. Any leftover from that would be placed into a rainy day account or go towards that facility. But as of right now, that 10,000 would help cover off what we're losing in that casino revenue. Because as of right now, our 2023 estimated budget is at a $10,500 loss.
Trevor, are most of the animals or a fair amount of the animals that you're getting, cats specifically, are they feral or are they?
It's been probably 50-50 over the last year. Yeah, it's generally what it is. Maybe a little more towards the tame or surrendered side. Yeah. A lot of people just can't afford the vet care that they need or to even feed them with everything going on right now. So we're seeing a lot of that.
You mentioned 41 cats, 17 from this area.
Yes.
Where are the others from?
The rest, so the 17 are specifically from the town of Hanna. The rest are from special areas or there's a few from Stettler and a few from the county of Painter.
So is there any opportunity to hit them up with some funding?
That's something we're working on. We're working on plowing through some of the old data to actually bring numbers to those municipalities. It's a long process. The record keeping was needed improvement before we took over. So
So they have no support in their communities or any other.
some of these places don't, or a lot of it this year has been, they've already been turned away from there.
Okay.
So like, especially the ones from Statler, I know the rescues up there, everywhere is full.
So
So yeah, they're calling their local ones first and then they're calling us because they've been refused there. So
I have another question. Is there any opportunity, like I see your expenses, a lot of your, majority of it has to do with veterinary expenses.
yes,
Is there any opportunity to partner with, some of the veterinary schools to do some of your, fixing? Whatever, it's called, spaying and that sort of thing? And, or other healthcare?
that is something we've considered. The ones that come to mind are Calgary, Edmonton, and then Lakeland. Does a bunch of veterinary work as well. Most of them already are partnered with their local rescues.
Okay.
So it's something we've considered. That is, those veterinary services expenses are already discounted by Valley Vet. Thank goodness, they'd be almost twice as high if they weren't. But yeah, it's something we've considered and it's definitely something we're open to if anybody knows of a place that would be willing to partner up. But then there will be expenses with that in fuel and everything to get them there. So
Yeah, there's expenses regardless. wherever
absolutely.
you go, but,
Yeah.
if it could help subsidize somewhat of the expenses that you do have.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Your fundraising expenses for $1,000. Why is it so high for expenses for fundraising?
So over the last year, we've really kicked up our fundraising. So that includes, how do I phrase this? When we're doing the 50-50 raffle and we have to give away a certain prize amount, that prize amount is built into that expense. So that's part of it. And yeah, we've really kicked up our fundraising. So as we do more fundraising, there's more fundraising expenses, which we're planning to continue. We're discussing some new fundraising methods actually later tonight. So.
Fundraising. I could use a haircut. Yeah, Trevor and I briefly talked about it. Last year I did a head shave for the cause. This year I thought of something a little bit different. I haven't launched this on to Trevor. As an idea, I'm prepared to leave my hair on for every $750 a month that you generate towards that cause.
Oh, that's interesting.
For how long, Mr. Mayor?
Until I can't generate $750 for that cause.
Well, and then once.
I need a haircut now, by the way.
But once they've, I'm just trying to get my head wrapped around it. Once they've raised $750, then your hair,
On to next month,
each month.
each month.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if there was an end date
No,
there. If it
just-
was $750, your hair was never gonna be cut again.
Yeah, no.
And we don't mind sacrificing the mayor to someone like us or any
I'm doing
cause.
this for the town as well, you realize it.
No, I'll bring that to our board tonight. Yeah, we hadn't talked about that one. So
No, I
it's
just,
unique. I like that.
yeah, I'm sure there's enough people that have a axe to grind with me, so. Any other questions of Trevor?
No questions, just a comment, Trevor, for clarification. So as you and I have discussed, council has included $7,400 in their 2023 operating budget. So if they want to match your request, that'll have to be a decision they will make. My suggestion would be, we will probably, I'm not sure what your financial situation is right now, but we will probably issue the check for the approved $7,400. And then we will have your, I guess, $2,600 additional request. We will probably hold off to decide until we look at our spring budget adjustments, which will be generally late April, first part of May. And then if council wishes to at that time, the option is always there for them to add that into the budget. So.
No, that's, yeah, that makes sense. That's perfect.
I would clean it, because it's really cheap. Like, easy fundraiser,
For sure. Yeah.
$100 for every kilometer.
Yeah. And yeah, that's another thing we've considered, but it's a little bit
It's hard.
challenging not stepping on other people's toes around, because 4-H does the highway cleanup.
No,
Not so much.
Don't they?
too much.
No, so
Okay.
It's only, go talk to,
Chuck,
Chuck Stern,
yeah, Chester.
Oh,
No,
Luann,
Luann Gladish. She works,
there's lots of miles to do, Trevor.
there's lots of miles in there.
and it's a pretty easy.
Yeah, I've done that as a kid, so. I didn't know that 4-H had backed off on that. so-
Oh, they got some 4-H, but there's more service clubs doing it now.
Oh, okay. Okay. Go to that. What was that name, sorry? Luann.
And Gladish, I have her phone number, so I'll give it to you.
That would be perfect. Thank you very much.
Yeah, upstairs. When do you need an answer? I know right away.
We don't have a deadline necessarily. We're not in dire financial straits right now. The requested additional is just to make up that loss that we're looking at by the end of 23. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, thank you, Trevor. Can we get a motion to thank Trevor, President of the Sky Animal Rescue Society, for his presentation and update on events at the Department of Sky Animal Rescue Society? Councilor Olson, all in favor? Carried. Next on the agenda is the Hanna Auxiliary and the hospital auxiliary, sorry.
Floor is yours, Gloria.
All righty, well, I didn't give you anything written, I have it here, I didn't know that was part of it, but whatever. I'm here representing the Hanna Hospital Ladies Auxiliary. The rationale to maintain our fall rummage sale date of the last weekend of September. Just a brief overview of what our organization does for our community. Proceeds from our rummage sales are used to provide items for acute and long-term care facilities in Hanna. When the COVID scare hit, we were able to purchase a second ventilator for our hospital, so one could remain here at all times, even if one was sent out of town with the patient. The approximate cost of that was $35,000. We updated our palliative care room to a cost of about $8,000, and that palliative care room is second to none in the province. We bought a 75-inch TV for long-term care for $2,000. Just because it's hard for them to see. We bought this, and I'm not going to pronounce it right, like an interaction production system for long-term care. And that's a thing they show on a table, and the residents can play with it or do whatever. And it's a real aid with dementia and Alzheimer patients. It's been proven to really, really sort of bring them out of it for even just a short period of time. And that was $8,000. We give bursaries to local students entering any medical field with an annual budget of $6,000 for that. And these are the purchases that we made at the doctor's request. Lab equipment analyzer, it was approximately $30,000. A kaleidoscope, which is used for incubating patients, approximately $6,400. We bought a portable ultrasound machine for $50,400. And the doctors use that a lot, the feedback we get. We bought an oxygen concentrator for $24,000 or $2,400, excuse me. We got a bariatric bed, chair, and etc. for $25,000. As you can see, anything we buy in the medical field, it's just astronomical in costs. We bought physio department equipment for $7,500. We bought a vein finder for $7,300. We bought a portable suction machine for $1,900. We bought bed rails and alarm system for long-term care for $1,000. And these are just the major items. We also provide TVs in each room in acute care, heated blanket warmers. So if you go into emergency or in shock, you're provided a warm blanket. We have wall clocks and many other smaller items costing less than $5,000 each. Cutbacks in Alberta healthcare have made it necessary for the auxiliary to purchase more and more of items required to provide the standard of care we all deserve. If we want to keep doctors in Hanna and our hospital open, we have to supply the doctors with the equipment needed to serve our community. Without a hospital, it will be hard to attract newcomers to Hanna. And then the adverse effects of changing the date of our rubbish sale. And the main one is the majority of our buyers depend on government assistance to live. Example, age, disability, welfare, etc. And they only receive payment at month end. We have had the same date for years and work around other communities so our sale does not conflict with theirs. We need in excess of 100+ volunteers, many of whom are farmers, and to move 1 week ahead into harvest will reduce the number able to help out. We get customers from a wide area, and they plan to come to Hanna at certain times. Many of our customers are also involved in agriculture. Some of our volunteers are employed. As you know, when you're employed, sometimes you need to plan your vacation time off days well in advance. And they've already arranged time off in order to help. We're already down in income due to the missed sales during the COVID scare. The approximate value of the major purchases in the last few years is $190,000. It takes approximately 10 to 15 sales to raise this kind of money. If we reduce to 1 sale a year, your hospital and long-term care will suffer, and we could lose doctors if we are no longer able to accommodate their requests for the needed equipment. And the only reason we were able to purchase all this is that sometimes we don't have a request for a major purchase. So then we might have 3 or 4 years of income banked or saved. And that's how we can come up with the 35 or the 30,000 that we need for these major items. And they put in requests to Alberta Healthcare for needed equipment. We asked them to do that first. They get refused. That's when we step in and pick up the slack. And that's how it is.
Gloria, how far in advance do you get sort of what the hospital will need? Are you getting this a year in advance, 2 years in advance?
We get it like right now. I just got a phone call today because we haven't answered back on 2 regulators they'd asked for. And I think the approximate cost of those is $10,000, but we don't meet in January, February. So until we go to a March meeting, we can't approve that. So normally they say they need something, they go to Alberta Healthcare, they get refused. They come to us, the next meeting, we approve usually the requests. And it gets ordered. Sometimes it takes 6 months for the equipment to show up. A lot of it's specialties like this projection system. We had to do a lot of work to find the best there was, and we ended up having to go to the US to get it.
So on a yearly average, what would you make at your rummage sale?
After expenses, we estimate we would take in $15,000 at each sale.
So that's twice a year, $30,000.
But you can see how fast it goes.
Of course, right.
And if we miss the sale, we're down.
And so do you have a
15.
certain reserve that you sit on? Then
We
as an
don't have a set
organization?
amount in reserve. We try to keep a healthy balance because we never know what requests might be coming. Like, who would have thought that this $35,000 for a ventilator would have ever been an item that was needed? But the issue with that was they had one here. If you ended up in the hospital with a bad case of COVID and they started you out of here, ours could go with the patient without having to be any disruption in their care to be put on a different ventilator. And so the one we bought is compatible to STARS.
What kind of expenses do you look at? Like, what kind of expenses do you end up having through a regular sale?
Okay, well, and I want to say the town of Hanna has always been very, very fair to us in the rent and the man hours and that, but we have that expense. That's probably our biggest expense. And we're not asking ever that we should get those facilities for nothing. Because just about everything that goes on in the arena, the curling rink, the community center, it's for one charity or another. And if the town were to give it to everybody for nothing, taxes would have to increase. So we have no issue with that. I want that clearly understood. And then there's supplies, like you wouldn't believe how many garbage bags you go through. And we have to have the dumpsters. And yeah, there's just no end. It's like everything else.
And so do you, like at the end of the day, when there is surplus remaining, who looks after dispersing that to other areas?
Highway 9 have always transported that to the distribution center in Calgary for us at no cost. And that has been going on for years and years. So when it gets to the distribution center in Calgary, they give it to like One Red Mother's, Mustard Seed, In from the Cold, whatever they've just amalgamated together. And that's why they're a distribution center.
And there's a limitation as to what they'll accept, is that right?
Yes. They'll take kitchenware, that sort of thing, and soft goods. They can't take furniture, which is unfortunate. And also we get one trailer from Highway 9. We fill that and then we're done. We can't ask them for more than one trailer. We're very grateful that they do that for us because otherwise it's going to go to the North Hill Shopping Center.
But there's enough of that does go there anyways, is that right?
To the dump?
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of it that should have gone there first.
Yeah,
In all honesty.
yeah.
And a lot of people are worried about the effect of the thrift store and the rummage sale or the rummage sale on the thrift store. We haven't noticed any difference. And actually, the Saturdays of the rummage sale are usually our highest sale days at the thrift store because people come in looking for a bargain. They 10 o'clock, they hit the rummage sale and then they move on to the thrift store. So it's a really good mix.
And do you have other rummage sales, like other communities that have rummage sales that bring their leftovers to them?
No, I would say they don't do that. No.
Okay.
And we don't want them to, in all honesty.
Well,
We get
that's-
enough.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is if they can't look after their own and we
Yeah,
end up-
I'm sure they all have their
Recycle
own
through.
ways of
Getting rid of it.
distributing what's left over at day's end.
And how are you doing with numbers of volunteers? They're declining over the years.
They are, because it's the same old story. The younger people are busy raising families and working full-time jobs. So a lot of ours are seniors. You know what happens to us old seniors? We just get too old.
All gonna break it down.
Yeah, I didn't fall. Let's be clear. I was shoved.
So Lori, would you say a great amount of staff that work there then are retired individuals? Then at the
Yes,
rummage
but we
sale?
get excellent help. The football team comes and helps us set up tables on Wednesday. And Alberta Power, or whatever their name is, have sent
Yeah.
workers over the years. And now whatever the oil company is that Dean Bisty works for, they're coming to the spring one to help. Yeah.
And the stuff that's purchased by the hospital auxiliary then stays with ownership of Hannah's facility. It's not an Alberta.
It does not even belong to the hospital or to long-term care. It belongs to the Hanna Hospital Ladies Auxiliary. And if our facilities were to close, we have every right to give that to Timbuktu. It's ours. We're very conscientious about that because we have in the past, we paid for a dialysis and you know what happened to that? We had paid for a mammogram, turned it over to the hospital or the region. You know what happened with that? So that's not happening. We're furious about that. Ferocious.
So my one question was, with, you wanted to be on the end of a month, the end of August, work for you?
No. Because we're a rural community for the most part, and that's harvest time, and we can't get workers. We just can't,
Okay, no, I'm just
yeah,
asking.
yeah, and without volunteers, we can't function.
I know one option was proposed, whether or not you had use of the curling rink, but not the arena.
Well, you see, we used to just have it in the curling rink, and we outgrew our space. If we were to go to the back to just using the curling rink, then we would be unable to take furniture and the large items or appliances or that. It is an option, but it would also cut down our income and it would cut down what we can bring and what people can buy.
Yeah. Just putting it out there. I didn't bring it up. It's not my option.
Yeah, yeah, it's sad, but you know, I've had a son or a grandson in minor hockey for 50 years and we lived with it.
Yeah, rummage sale's been very supportive of this town and the hospital, I mean, for many years. You guys donate, you give. Minor hockey costs the town.
Yeah, well, I'm not here to battle with minor hockey because I have grandson in minor hockey too, and I can see both sides of the equation. But I do know that I don't believe it ever hurt my grandson's hockey career by the ice not going in before the end of September. I think most of the kids, if they're NHL bound, they're scouted by now.
Yeah. I think the other point that's kind of come up, Gloria, time and time again is, you know, the dollars that go out of town. When they have to, you know, source out going to drum or wherever, you know, minor hockey is going, those dollars are leaving our community. Now, I know that their dollars are coming in with the rummage sale. You know, everybody supports a rummage sale, whether, you know, businesses or private enterprise or whatever, individuals from all over come. And that too has enhanced our community. But when those dollars go out of our community, that is also a detriment at a greater level. And I mean, I don't have a scale in front of me because I don't know how many minor hockey people go out on those weekends because I'm not connected at that level versus, you know, if I could put that on a scale and say, okay, the rummage sale is bringing in 30,000, you know, in one sale, 15,000, I guess is what you said. And, you know, 30 of our kids and their families are going to Drumheller. How many dollars are going out? Is that another $15,000 going out? And so I guess that's another question, just kind of trying to determine, you know, what's what with, you know what, because I hate seeing money, you know.
But how many dollars do our people from Brownfield, Kindersley, Saskatchewan, and that bring into the town of Hanna when they come for the day and eat out, and some of them stay over?
Well, that's true.
You know,
Yeah,
it's a
they do.
catch-22.
They travel.
And it's a week. It isn't like it's a whole season. So I don't think that the cost of driving to Delia for the parents, or maybe, or drum. for two
Well, it's
projects.
not even the cost of the driving, it's the fact when they're in Drumheller, they're going to shop, they're going to eat at restaurants, they're going to do other things. I mean, I for one, if I'm in Drumheller, I might go to Walmart. If I'm in Drumheller, I might go to Canadian Tire. if I'm not going there, I'm not going shopping.
Right, but that's just for practice, because you would go for a game anyway.
Yeah, but we have ice, we play our games in town. Hanna Minor Hockey plays their games in town. They don't play any other games in town. This is their evaluation time, their conditioning time. For the entire week that they're going down there is for conditioning and evaluations.
I understand that. I know. I've been there, done that.
Yeah.
I mean,
They're
the
also
individuals coming from Brownsville and Kindersley and those, I think that's an outing, they prepare for that and you know, whether it's on the last weekend of the month or another day, I'm not sure whether that would make a difference. I'd like to see the scale too, of how many, like you talked about, you know, there was some, you know, social assistance shoppers that come at a greater level. Like what is the percentage of those individuals that do come, you know, that are
on
shopping?
social assistance.
Yeah, that you, and I mean, we probably don't have those numbers either. I mean, I've been to the rummage sale. Haven't, you know. I
Well,
can't
we
tell you
know,
something,
and it's
you know.
probably 75% of our customers are customers that rely on the rummage sale, especially in the fall. For back to school and that sort of thing, and they rely on that check. We moved it one year. We lost $8,000.
So this last fall, do you think your numbers were up in comparison to previous rummage sales?
No, they were down, and they have been since COVID. And I think a lot of that is still people scared to travel, people scared of big gatherings. You know, I don't think that's necessarily a reflection on the auxiliary. I think that's a reflection on just a sign of the times.
Okay,
Thank you.
any other questions for Lorna? No. Gallery question? No?
Sure.
You mentioned like the back to school. Well, school's already been in for a month and a half. But at the end of August, or by the end of September, would it not be beneficial for these low income people to be shopping? I know you said it's tricky to get volunteers, but would it not benefit these low income people to be going to the rummage sale at the end of August? So they have it for the beginning of school?
Possibly for like maybe a jogging suit or something, but for winter attire, September's the perfect time.
Okay.
Not to, you know, throw Ken on the spot here, but for the end of August, if the date's available, what about a creative solution of a association with 90 to 100 families to maybe help volunteer to fill that shortage? Like if minor hockey was able to, I know they can't guarantee 100 bodies, but if they were to offer some help and call it to their families for an August 30th date to help.
But we're not there one day. We start Wednesday, our sale is Saturday, and we work our buns off on those 3 days. As for who's been there.
Yeah, well, I know that's access to a big group. We're all big proponents of groups working together and helping each other out, of course. Just an idea that if it comes to it. I know there's no answer to that. It wasn't really a question, just a suggestion, I suppose.
Hearing nothing else,
I think there might be an opportunity, back in the school hasn't even started yet, but we might be able to utilize this. The football team or some of the students at the school or different programs of this, you know, who knows, maybe there's some other groups that younger groups that could possibly step in. Probably later in August rather than later in September. September, a lot of stuff's going on. Hockey teams are going, football teams are going. Maybe there's, you know, later in August that there's maybe more young people available. That's could probably, it'd be nice to transition to get different groups in there to assist about it. You
It
know,
would be, but there's a certain skill set that's required too. So if we have young students there that have never volunteered, you almost need somebody guiding.
Oh, absolutely, and that, you know, and they need that. They're the muscle sometimes, and sometimes they're the ones, you know, driving stuff around, picking stuff up, but at the same time, you know, they at least have the knowledge and the experienced people that can definitely guide it.
I know the football team have been invaluable because they're young, they're strong, they're tough, they're willing, they're able. We love having them help.
And they're going strong by that time anyways. So.
Yeah, it's all food for thought, I guess.
But on the other hand, Lori, that's just for setup, if they don't allow kids,
Yeah, that's it.
for,
We don't allow,
it's only for setting up
yeah, under
racks
18.
and tables and.
They're allowed there because they're under the umbrella of the school, the football kids. But we don't allow volunteers under the age of 18.
I think you'd find a lot of hockey parents willing to volunteer to get ice.
Well, every year we ask for volunteers. We haven't seen a great turnout.
But if there's a little give and take too, if we don't have to drive to Drum 150 kilometers each trip there back, right? That it might. Maybe some incentive to volunteer.
You're dealing with the end of the holidays too, people are still.
Well, the end of August, lots of times school doesn't go back until September, and a lot of people are gone. But for every last week, they can have a
7
vacation.
years, it's been end of August, they start on the 25th.
Okay, we can beat this to the grammar here. So, motion to thank, members of the hospital auxiliary for the presentation at this evening's meeting, important September 30th date for the number set. Motion, Counselor Cole, all in favor? Carried. Thank you, Laura.
Yeah, thank you.
Hanna minor hockey.
Hello, if you could come up here, that would probably be best. Sorry.
Wasn't expecting to get in front of it.
No.
I don't know that I have anything to add that what's already been said. We've got 200 plus kids playing hockey, and yeah, they are driving to Drum on the weekends to when we don't have ice in town.
What age group?
18 to what does Mike start at?
Well, I'm sure the lights aren't driving to Drumheller for evaluation and condition.
Not for evaluation, but they do have, do Mikes do conditioning? I wish I knew that. I know Novice does, so that's
U7.
U7, U9, U11, U13, U15, U18 are all going to Drum for conditioning and possibly tryouts.
Why isn't minor hockey bought a bus so that these people can travel together rather than 55?
It's my understanding the buses are quite expensive to maintain.
Well, we start.
Or even through.
Well, in minor hockey, guys, that's the cost of money by the time we got insurance and drivers.
And then you have to inspect it all the time.
Yeah, yearly.
Yeah.
Commercial bus.
So on one given weekend, sorry, Kendall, you have approximately 200 kids leaving the community? Yeah.
Well,
In about?
discounting the mites, it's probably 100 or more.
Yeah, I'm just using that.
Yeah,
So 150 kids.
Yeah.
leaving.
driving the Drum. Well, parents driving the Drum, but I mean, the families too, so. If you have a practice at 10 o'clock in the morning and your other kids have a practice at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you're just gonna stay in Drum.
How many of these parents go to Drum on a regular basis to do their shopping anyways?
The price of fuel, probably not a ton. I know I don't. But if you're there, might as well stop in at the store. We do.
When does the league start, Kendall, the actual league play?
We have to have our numbers in. We have to have our teams decided by the you know, when we actually get by the first week of October. See, the end of September, for sure, we have to have our teams picked, but. And then the league play starts.
Does league generally start before Thanksgiving?
The weekend.
It
after.
has now. Because of the way playoffs have all shifted. It used to be we did tryouts during Thanksgiving. That was our Thanksgiving weekend, but then the league has shifted everything earlier. So that they can get the grouping done before provincials. The provincials moved up and to try to
That's a
get.
mandate from Hockey Canada,
Yeah.
actually.
To get the banners won and then find out who's in provincials. You gotta win the banner now to go to provincials. Whereas before you would apply to play in provincials.
Kendall, I'm just curious, has the number increased with the number of, kids in hockey, or has that always kind of been the average number of kids involved in hockey?
Someone's been the president that long, so I don't know, but I know it seems. People used to have two teams in one age group and then they went to one team in one age group and now.
When we first moved here, we had 3 midget teams, 2 basketball teams, 2 pee wee teams. 2 2 Adam teams, 3 novice teams in Portland.
When was
That was 1999.
Okay,
When Kyle's group went through, and I hate to do this, but I'm gonna do it, the 88s went through. We were down to 1 team of just about every division. This year they have 2 midget teams, 2 U13 or 2 U11, sorry, U18s, 2 U11.
Two U18s, two U11s.
Yes. So the numbers are a little bit stronger now than they have been.
and 2 U7s.
Yeah. So the numbers are a little stronger this year than they have been the last few years.
Can we identify what it would cost to, open and operate the arena or the facility a week early? Would we have those numbers? Just,
I don't have those numbers here, and even if we gave you numbers, they would be an educated guess. Obviously, when the plant's on a week earlier, so you have the cost of running the plant a week earlier, that'll be the main difference. And the other bad part that goes against it is generally warmer then, so when it's warmer, your plant works
Working
longer,
harder.
but it won't necessarily change anything else. We'll use the same amount of water, same amount of staff time. It'll just cost of turning the plant on and having it run that week. So, if we look at our power bills for the ice plant now are $6,000 a month. That's $1,500 a week. So if you're doing it in summer, or the last week in September, it's maybe $1,500, $2,000 extra power costs for the ice plant. That would be very quick, rough estimate, but I think it's probably fairly close.
okay, thank you.
So in that week, that extra week that you're looking for, how many times would the ice be used?
It would be probably used every day.
Our assumption would be if council made that decision and moved it a week up, that minor hockey would have a full schedule. So
Absolutely.
just like they would run during the week now, starting, after school.
Probably not at 4, maybe it'd be at 4, because depending on whether or not the mites are gonna
Yeah.
do the thing. And figure skating usually started a little later.
Yeah, I don't think it's never been a push from figure skating. I'm not saying figure skating wouldn't use the ice and went in earlier, but they've generally been content with the normal startup time. They're not in as much of a panic in terms of trying to get teams and get organized to be able to meet leagues. They're pretty independent as a group, so. But yeah, our expectation would be that minor hockey would use it as much as they could during that week. If we were to have it open that week, we would be, I shouldn't say we, I would be disappointed if we did have it open a week earlier and there was 2 or 3 nights, there was nothing, or there was 1 practice a night. Like, my expectation would be, I'd want the time to be maximized.
And you see it in our cheering games. Our teams are weaker to start with. And they don't have the teamwork built up because they just haven't been on the ice long enough together. Like we played 1 game and we only had 1 practice as a team because That's how evaluations went. You're like, here's your team, you got 1 day to practice, and now you're gonna go play another team.
So then having it open for another week would only give you potentially two more times to practice.
Or 4,
Well,
because we wouldn't
if
necessarily have a game on the
you
weekend,
wouldn't
but
have, you wouldn't, that one particular team wouldn't be on there every day.
no,
They
but
have
they
to change
could
with the
say
other
you had a
groups, right?
Monday, Wednesday practice,
Mhm.
because we wouldn't have a game. We could also practice on Saturday and Sunday.
Can you do any of your practice dry land, like more dry land and teamwork? Where the kids are getting, perhaps using the Centennial Building for doing some of their dry land training without being on skates. To get some of the coordination and using a ball instead of a puck and things of that nature. Has that been
I mean-
considered?
I don't know whether or not any of the coaches, like they always do dry land for practices, but I don't think there's any teamwork really involved in that. Not saying that it couldn't happen, but typically it's getting your skating legs under you. It doesn't matter. I mean, if everyone had rollerblades and we had a big roller rammer, we possibly could get some skating muscles under it, so. You're not quite the same either.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Kendall? Thanks, Mike.
Good job.
We'll get a motion to thank Kendall with Hanna Hockey for the presentation this evening for his the importance of installing the ice aid as early as possible this season. Motion, Counselor Thurl, all in favor? Carried. Brings us to
So
the,
just, sorry, Mr. Mayor, just so you know, we do have, on the agenda later on for a decision. If you wanted to stay or not, there is an option for council to not make a decision this evening to try and get their heads wrapped around the information they received tonight before they made a decision, so.
We'll be satisfied to one decision.
Okay, but yeah, I'm just, if you wanna wait. The option is there if you wanna leave. I just didn't want you to leave knowing that council might be discussing it. And later on in this evening. So it's up to you. I just wanted you to know that we'll be discussing it later on this evening. Before you leave.
you're welcome,
to leave.
you're welcome to stay, you're welcome to leave.
You'll be notified either.
Yeah, well, you'll certainly be notified of the decision. If there is a decision made tonight.
Well, I'm sure we wouldn't be included in the discussions, so.
No, you wouldn't be included in the discussion, but you could hear the conversation or debate amongst council when they're making their decision. So,
No, we'll leave it in council's hands.
okay.
We trust you.
We've been running for 81 years.
No,
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
I just want to say too, I really don't want to take away from it.
No, I know, it's a very difficult situation to be arguing against.
If it does end up going for September, Hanna Hockey for sure will volunteer. If I have to be there.
No, I think the organization's been in place.
Oh, okay.
Hanna RCMP. Go back to
You
follow.
get to follow that, yeah.
There you
Thank you for having me. Is there a certain time window that I should?
Well, normally there's not, Sergeant Walsman, but we do have a public hearing at 7, so.
I will keep it a priority.
It'd be nice to relate to that and not have you come back again, or public hearing will be short, but.
Okay, well, I will start with, first of all, I provided the third quarter provincial policing report a few weeks ago to the CAO. And if you have any specific questions about that document, I'm happy to answer them. The one statistic I'll bring to your attention is the increase in mental health calls, which we discussed last time due to one or two individuals who make frequent calls. So it's artificially inflated the calls for service for mental health. The policing report also includes some of the activities that the detachment has been doing over the last 3 months, including work that we've been doing in the schools and some internal training that we're working on as well. I'm pleased to report that the work that we've been doing in the schools has been very positively received. A lot of attention to substance use, vaping, drug and alcohol use, and the feedback from the kids and the staff has been very positive. So we're going to be continuing that in our fourth quarter here. Any questions specific to the third quarter report? If there are none at this point in time, certainly you can email me or call me, and I'm more than happy to answer specific questions if you come upon them later on.
Is that this one here?
That's right.
I did have a question.
Sure.
In here, under 2022, it indicates other provincial acts as 140 from 104. What would that consist of?
So provincial acts would be things like Trespass Act, Mental Health Act, which is provincial as well. All those sorts of provincial acts.
So it's basically a catch-all for.
Everything that's not criminal code. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. I'll just move on quickly. There's been no staffing changes at the detachment. Recently, we met with the Rural Crime Watch, and they decided to add a separate notification group in their notification system for specifically the town of Hanna. So Rural Crime Watch has traditionally been divided up into zones for the outlying area where community members have a way of quickly communicating with each other if they see suspicious activity, and we monitor that as well. And we also encourage them to report those instances directly to us. But they find that it's a useful way to let their neighbors know what's going on if they see something quickly, and we support it wholeheartedly. They've added a town of Hanna section as well, so that any instances within town can be reported on to neighbors. If anyone's interested in participating in Rural Crime Watch, I can get you the information on the current coordinator and when they'll be meeting next, because they are looking for volunteers. I guess the other significant thing that I wanted to touch on tonight was to discuss with council if there are any specific priorities that council would like the detachment to focus on for the next year. So we set our priorities at the end of this fiscal for the upcoming year. So as you know, we focused on community contacts and being in the schools, presenting on substance abuse issues, and also our internal training. But I wanted to find out from you if there's any specific issues that you feel we need to focus on for the upcoming year. I know that's kind of putting you on the spot. So if you don't have anything in particular that comes to mind, certainly I would like to discuss those issues with you going forward. But I'd like to try and focus in on what those objectives will be in the next month or so. So if you have any suggestions either now or that you want to share with me at a later time, that would be very helpful.
As Rob and I have spoke a few times about proactive policing versus reactive policing. In my opinion, this group has done a much better job of that as far as being very public. We had the Gorbath concert, they were in the lobby, they were present. We are getting a few times watching hockey and stuff like that. that stuff to me goes a long ways in my opinion, so. I'd like to see that continue.
Yes, we can definitely continue with that priority.
So, oh, go ahead.
Councilwoman?
Oh, I just had a bit of a. Well, I heard about an incident at the arena a couple Fridays ago. Where a town staff member had to escort some unruly parents out of the building. Belligerent, potentially inebriated, just not appropriate for a public venue with kids and yada, yada. And talking with some people, wondering if there would be a possibility of having some sort of visual presence around 9 o'clock. When sometimes that is where things are getting, things of that nature might alleviate something that might be potentially an issue. You never know nowadays if someone's going to pull a knife or something along that sort of bizarre situation sort of thing. So, and I'm not alluding that happened, but I don't think it's any, it's unnerving that that's going on. And maybe it's a one-off, but it seems like it's happening more and more in other areas, if that could be, or could be something that could be considered if members are available.
Definitely, I think that would incorporate well into just making proactive community contact, setting
Yeah.
one area, one geographic area we could focus on is being in the arena during those times.
Yeah, there was some discussion about some being inebriated and whether there's drug related, I don't know, but it just is sort of leading to something that could be something a lot more serious if it isn't kind of nipped in the bud. And it's a not very good example for other kids that might be there watching.
Is it more of a concern during games?
I think this was a game between an outside community and another, and the outside community, one of their parents had to be escorted out.
It's actually a coach.
So I think Sergeant Wells meant that the issue generally, and not every game by no means, but it's usually the midget
U18.
age, the U18s.
Yeah.
They're usually playing on Friday night or Saturday night. You've got the 15, 16, 17-year-old kids playing, their friends in the stands. They're at that age where they may want to imbibe and they maybe say too much. And I think the last one, unfortunately, was a rival community, and that's where it got up. Our staff is told to do their best to remove and escort, but they're also told that if it's more than they can handle, to call the RCMP. Because they're not in the business of having to escort people from the building who will not leave the building. So generally that would be my advice if whoever's on a Friday night, Saturday night has the time to stop in and it might be a positive presence.
Well, to rectify that, I'll get in touch with Hanna Minor Hockey and get the schedule for those groups. And then let the other members know so that we can try and be proactive there.
Oh, that would be great, thank you, because you get a bunch of parents speaking off and stuff too, that escalates. Thank you.
You're welcome. Was there any other priority issues that you wanted to see addressed, or did you want to maybe take that to another meeting?
I think the best thing, Rob, would be is if you generally what we've asked of the sergeant is to give us, you guys are the ones that are the boots on the grounds. You guys are the ones that, in my opinion, know what's happening out there and what should be focused on. So we generally like to see your priorities.
Okay.
And if you could give me a list of what you think should be your priorities based on your experience out in the field, then we can bring that back to council. We have a meeting in March. We can bring that back to council and they can either ratify what you think or add or change, but I think it helps to get some feedback from the RCMP in terms of what they think community priorities should be.
I have a meeting with special areas as well, where we'll be discussing the priorities. So once that conversation takes place, we will make sure that we share those with council here and so we can come up with a unified detachment approach. Okay. Any other questions?
I know there's only a couple minutes left before she hit the public hearing. I just wanted to, if you had a chance to share any updates or experiences with victim services, whether it's been used or accessed.
Yeah, actually, thank you for reminding me on that. I just had a conversation in person with Ann Muriah. She is the program coordinator who's going to be covering our area. So at this point, they are taking victim services referrals. They don't have volunteers or staff on the ground here yet, but they're based out of Brooks. They are still taking referrals from us in the meantime until they have the staff set up. So we have used them on a few occasions at this point for things like traffic collisions and some incidences that have gone before the courts, some persons offenses, and they've been helpful with guiding the victims through the court process and restitution and the victim impact statement. So I'm pretty pleased with how the meeting went today, and she advised me that they should have the staff up and running shortly for this particular area.
Get good at this. You're getting very good at this, no questions.
No one's asleep, so that's good.
Any other questions? Rob? Okay, we get a motion to thank Sergeant Robert Wellman, Hanna Detachment for presentation police statistics 2022-2023 third quarter, October to December, and the update on activities for the detachment. Motion. Dr. Bowden, all in favor? Carried. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So do we go into a break on that other meeting?
No, we move into this new, but this is a separate meeting, so up to, as you said, open that.
Yeah.
Move forward.
Okay, so we've got a public hearing on bylaw 1029-2023 land use amendment. Call the meeting to order at 7:02. So quick explanation of what's going to happen. There will be an explanation purpose of the public hearing given to by the administration and Colorado Regional Municipal Services. The applicant for the proposed land use designation change will be given an opportunity to explain the reason for having made the proposal before the hearing concludes, and the applicant will be given an opportunity to make some closing remarks. Any person who is present who wishes to address the public hearing, either in opposition or support, may do so. We will ask that those present who wish to make a presentation give us your name, who represent and who you're representing, and whether you support or oppose the land use change. A list will be prepared so that we can call you forward and make your presentation. All presentations made to council are restricted to 5 minutes. Your cooperation in affording everyone the opportunity to make their views known is sincerely appreciated. No discussion will be permitted during these between those making the presentations. Only councilors will be permitted to ask questions of the presenter for the points of clarification. The purpose of the public hearing for the council of the town of Hanna is to gather information regarding proposed land use designation change to be better able to consider all opinions when deciding whether the proposed amendment should be put into place. And okay.
So, Mr. Mayor, I don't know from my perspective, well, I know last time I had a public hearing, I talked too much and stole Tracy's thunder. So I don't really have anything, I think more to add. We have done the necessary advertising. We have done the necessary letters to the adjacent landowners. And I know the applicant isn't here tonight, so they won't be presenting their case for why they want it rezoned, but I think that's all that I'll say, and if you want to turn it over to Tracy from Palliser.
Tracy just chomping at the bit,
Yeah.
I can see, so. Sure, show girl.
Thank you, and good night, good evening, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. I'm going to share my screen now so you can see my presentation. Great. Can everybody see the presentation?
No.
Huh. Why is it not sharing? How about that?
There you go. You're good now.
Great, thank you. All right, am I in presenter mode? Okay, that should work. Great, so thanks for having me here. I'm Tracy from Palliser. I'm the senior planner and I've been processing this redistricting application on behalf of the town of Hanna. So the application is resulting in proposed bylaw number 1029-2023. So tonight in my presentation, I'll cover the background. I'll evaluate and analyze the application, provide some information on the notification that was done, and our conclusion and recommendation to council. And I just want to check, are my slides changing for you right now?
No,
They are not. Why is it not?
I might not have you set up right. I don't know.
There you go.
Well, there
That
it
one
is.
changed.
That changed? Okay. For some reason, showing the wrong screen. Sorry about that. Okay, so the purpose of the application and the background. So the applicant is the landowner, who is Daryl Karg. This application has already been given first reading, so now we're at the public hearing, and first reading was given on January 10th of this year. And so the purpose of the amendment is to redistrict a small portion of, it's about a single family lot size of 501 5th Street West, from R3 multiple unit residential district to R1 single detached residential district. And the reason that this application has been submitted is to allow for the construction of a detached dwelling on a proposed new lot. And this application for rezoning was submitted concurrently with application of subdivision of the parent lot. And so when I say parent lot, this is the lot, it is 501 5th. And yeah, it's just the lot that's outlined in yellow here. And unfortunately, this is a bit of an older aerial photo, so you can't see what's currently there. But on this property now, there are a number of threeplexes and a duplex built already. So the current land use, the entire parent lot is currently zoned R3 district. So you can see those are both outlined in red, which is for multiple units. So this is the proposed land use. So it's just about the size of a lot of a single family lot proposed to go to R1. So it's just a small area of the larger lot. And the reason for this is that you can see here there's already a threeplex built, and then there are two duplexes, and the remaining size of land wasn't large enough for the developer to build another duplex or threeplex. So they have requested a change in land use to be able to build a single family lot there. There's an undeveloped portion of land here at the back, which administration might want to speak to afterwards. I think council's in discussions with the landowner about this undeveloped portion. So reviewing the planning documents, you have your municipal development plan, which is your long-term vision for the town of Hanna. And section 3.3 encourages the development of vacant lots where services are available. So servicing of this lot was already installed by the town, and appropriate rights of way for those utilities will be designated in this subdivision application. And section 3.5 of your MDP encourages the development of a mixture of housing types. And so as is shown on that conceptual site plan, The development is a mixture of row housing, duplexes, and detached dwellings. And in that area around this, this lot, there is already a mixture of R1, R2, and R3. So it kind of fits in with that mix of housing in that area. So notification, although this, this land use bylaw amendment was given first reading by the town of Hanna on January 10th. And so the public hearing tonight provides that opportunity for any individuals who deem themselves affected to directly address council. So this public hearing was posted in the newspaper for 2 consecutive weeks in accordance with the Municipal Government Act. And the Palliser also sent out redistricting notices to surrounding property owners. So that's within 60 meters of the site. And they were also sent direct mail outs indicating that this public hearing would happen. And no written comments have been received to date of this proposed redistricting. So Palliser's conclusion and recommendation is that the proposed bylaw amendment is consistent with the goals of the town of Hanna and will allow for the subdivision of the lot and construction of a detached dwelling unit. That is the end of my presentation. If there's any questions.
Any questions for the council? Anyone that would like to speak to it? Perfect.
So there are, as I said, the applicant isn't with us this evening. Mayor has checked to see if there's anybody in support of the bylaw amendment or opposed to the bylaw amendment, and there doesn't seem to be anyone in attendance. As Tracy did indicate, no letters were received from anyone with any concerns or any positive, negative, otherwise. So I don't think there's anything more to add there, Mr. Mayor, and with the applicant here, there are no closing remarks. So I guess would be the last opportunity if there's any questions council may have for Tracy or myself prior to moving out of the public hearing.
Motion to move out of public hearing. Councilor Bolton, straight at the all in favor? Carried.
Thanks, Tracy.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great evening.
Recommendation, council gives second reading to bylaw.
No, Mr. Mayor, we'll jump back to
Jump back
10.2.
to-
We'll have to
okay.
go back to where we left off before we went into the public hearing.
Okay, public presentations. And a lot of people here. A lot of people looking at everybody. Does anybody want to speak to something, or are you just all here to see us? Step forward.
I don't know if we had to be called by name. I'm Melissa Ray with the Hanna Farmers Market. We would like to thank you guys.
So Melissa, I don't want to.
Yeah, no.
But we do have that on the agenda, so we
Yeah.
can speak to that when
Sorry.
we come there.
No,
That's when you speak.
That's why I wasn't sure.
Okay. Yeah.
No problem, no public presentations, okay? You're not public anymore. No, for sure. Motion to accept the regular meetings of council meeting on January 10th, 2023.
Mr. Mayor.
Council Warwick. All in favor? Carried. Motion to accept the minutes of the information meeting, January 25th, 2023. Council Olson. All in favor? Carried. Statement of revenue for expense. 6.02. Sorry, payable, sorry, oops, right at my fault. Any questions on the payables? Council Bowden?
I have a question regarding 001789. Anchor Glass, SNR, Shaker Crescent Alley, snow removal. What is that?
So I'll go ahead, Brent can follow up. So as you know, Shaker Alley blows in a lot with snow, so we cleared it. We cleared it manually with our loaders, but we're getting to the point where it was too high to do anything, and Brent had a conversation with Dwayne Hine of Anchor Glass, who had a large snow blower. So we rented him and his equipment, and he was able to then run the snow blower adjacent to the wooden posts along Shaker Alley and then blow it out into the large L area just to because we run out of room to pile it. So we thought we'd try that and it worked quite well. So
Yeah, no, I thought it was some sort of glass issue.
no,
Yeah.
Broken window.
no,
Brent broke the window.
no.
Thank you. I think that was all I had.
Mr. Mayor, just 42512, the Hanna and District Medical Corporation, the requisition. Is that annually or how often do we?
So the requisition, they requisition annually. So the requisition, we pay in 2 installments. So we pay the first installment in January and then the second installment in July.
Verification around that. And then there was one other one. I was just curious. 01755, the Canoe Procurement Group Canada has paper supplies on there. And of course, when I see things like this, I'm always curious as to what that exactly is. Number one, is it paper supplies? And if it is in fact paper supplies, is there not a local entity that we can purchase this from?
So Canoe is the formerly the RMA, AMD and C purchasing group. So we purchase, some things through there that we get the volume discounts on. So as far as I'm aware, and I could be wrong, the paper supplies we bought were indeed paper supplies, whether it was 8.5 by 11 or 8.5 by 14. I don't know of anyone who sells them in town. I could be corrected if I'm wrong, but we generally buy them through that buying group. So.
Okay, thank you for that. And I will get back to them.
Okay.
Thank you though. Appreciate that.
That's cool.
Noticed there's quite a few checks written out for vehicle maintenance. Kind of motor products, all season motorsports. Different things like that. We have nobody on our employee list that can change oil.
Well, it's more than that. We have them go through the vehicle, and as you're aware, the person we had who was a mechanic has left.
We don't have a mechanic.
Yeah.
But we got replaced or nothing yet?
No.
Going to be?
We're
Well,
looking at between
We're
that.
not replacing a mechanic. We're not advertising for a mechanic. We're not paying any one of my staff a mechanic's wage.
So we've farmed them out. That purpose that we missing the mechanic, and for that purpose, we've been focusing primarily on snow removal. So
what does this maintenance implying, like what's all involved in this candy van maintenance? What did they do?
that could have been the repairs of the shocks. Like we'll do repairs when we can, buy the parts. But we just didn't have time to have someone go through all of the equipment. So we did have them, farmed out to our respective local businesses to do that work.
Our newest vehicle's 8 years old.
The handy van, the reason we did the shocks is because you can't buy parts for the handy van.
Yeah.
So GM didn't even want to work on the handy van. It's a specialized van. We phoned the dealer that we got the van built from, and they no longer sell parts. The first thing we were told is that's a very old van. I'm surprised you guys are running it.
So Wes did a bunch of research with bumper to bumper. We got a set of shocks for it once before and it rode worse than it did with the old shocks on it. But the shocks that we had were leaking. They're hydraulic shocks, so in order to get it passed for CFIP, we had to do what we had to do. So Wes spent a lot of time researching that to repair it, and we found a pair of shocks and Cam certified it, so we're good for another year.
Any other questions? No other questions? Council accepts account payable listing, general accounts check number 42511 to 42537 and direct deposits 001745 to 001823 for information. Motion. Council Olson, all in favor? Carried. (6.02) statement of revenue and expense. Any questions? Hearing none. Council accept the statement of revenue and expense for report for January 2023 for information. Motion. Councilor Thorough. All in favor? Carried. 6.03 budget overview.
So, Mr. Mayor, question I have of council is, we did tweak the format of this and bringing the actuals and together in one column versus the budget in the second column. Does that read better, or do you like this better than the old one? I guess looking for feedback, whatever works best for council is certainly what we'll do. So.
Looks good. I can follow it better.
Can you? Okay, well, that's the main thing. We want it to be easily understood. And if this way is better than the way we had it set up before, with the actuals and the budgets in the same column.
It's so much nicer with what you had spent in one column and then what your budget was.
Okay.
It's easier to go across.
Okay, well, we'll continue to use this method unless we hear otherwise.
Any other questions? Motion that council accepts the budget overview for January 2023 for information. Council Warwick. I knew I was good. I wasn't avoiding it. All in favor? Carried. 7.0 committee reports. Mr. Nell.
No, we have the community report meeting.
You're always birthday though, aren't you?
No, these are committee reports.
Okay, sorry.
Need a motion to accept them.
Motion to adopt as presented.
Burnett and
Councilor
Sam.
Thorough. Any questions?
You had to be there, brought tears to your eyes that meeting.
Care to elaborate?
There's a couple of things right at the end there. The lady brought up about after being attacked by the dog, which our bylaw officer is working on. But there's a couple other issues that we discussed about the dog bylaws or whatever. She was wondering why such a low rate on dog licensing. You know, if we maybe charge a little bit more for dog licensing, we might be able to do more work with dogs and whatever in town. And the other thing is the little pooper bags there that people just aren't using or just not picking up after themselves, like. It's amazing, people have said on Main Street, and I've seen it in front of the banks and that there's. Little piles left, you know, people with their dogs, cleaning up and stuff, so. That was some of the issues that was brought up at this. New service meeting is, maybe we could look into it or get our bylaw officer to do something with the dogs.
So, yeah, the discussion centered around whether when someone comes in to renew their license, if we could put together, which was a good idea, put together a package of what it is to be a responsible pet owner, including cleaning up after yourself, making sure your dog's not off leash, making sure all common sense things you think of when you have a dog, that you're not gonna leave your dog outside the bark at all hours of the day and night. So we are looking at investigating that. The other discussion was whether the town would want to look at hosting some obedience classes, potentially. And like I said, I don't want to be the bad guy in all this. My comment is that the people that are the good pet owners that get their animals licensed are probably good pet owners, follow the rules. It's the ones that don't, that follow the rules, and those ones probably are not going to be the ones, if we had an obedience class, it's going to be the people who are good pet owners who will be at the obedience class trying to learn some extra tricks. So just was brought to our attention just to see if we could be creative and see if we could find some opportunities to educate our pet owners in terms of what their responsibilities are. I think, and I make this comment, I know we're at the time of the year where it's gonna start to be worse because the snow is gonna melt and there's gonna be more evidence for pet owners around town. I don't know how we deal with that. I know we did an extensive campaign last year on it to educate people. Whether that had a difference or not, I don't know. The challenge with, and everybody points their fingers at the bylaw enforcement officer. Well, the bylaw enforcement officer has to see that act happen and be present. And I would say 90% of the bad owners will, if they're out with their dog will defecate and they will look around to see if anybody's there. And if nobody's there, they keep on going. If somebody's there, they might pick up. So we're open to see if we can catch anybody again. We have a part-time bylaw enforcement officer, and when they're out and they see that, my expectation is they certainly will act on it. But when they're not available and not there and don't see it, we rely on the public, and if the public wants to bring a complaint with an individual who's done it in time, we can follow through with that. So it is a working challenge. I know it's not different anywhere else. And I think we do our fair bit by providing the poop bags on our trails and make them available. It's just unfortunate we've got some bad pet owners who aren't responsible. So we did have one of the members on the community services board did have their dog was attacked by a bigger dog and suffered some serious injuries. And it's not the first offense for this individual dog. So our bylaw enforcement officer is working with the RCMP and the Crown prosecutor on charges, provincial charges. So as you are aware, our bylaw enforcement officer doesn't have her CPO status, so she is working with the RCMP and the Crown prosecutor to bring provincial charges against this dog owner. So it's an unfortunate incident, but we're following through on that. So.
Yeah, Mr. Farrell.
No.
Okay.
Did we need to vote, Mr. Mayor?
You don't vote, all in favor, sorry. Carried.
So now it's my turn.
Now it's your turn.
Well, you've been waiting for this.
Yes, with severe anticipation.
Yes, yes,
I was here like 45 minutes early tonight, with a tie.
yeah. Best dressed one here tonight.
Yeah.
Through everybody else.
So I'm just gonna review some things in my report, so. Downtown redevelopment projects, so still working quite closely with MPE on that project. You will see tomorrow, you will see on Main Street boreholes being dug as part of the engineering for the downtown redevelopment. So they'll be investigating soil composition, water table levels, and the other thing which unfortunately they're probably gonna find is some environmental concerns. So that'll be part of what they're doing is what is in that soil that they're examining. So that's starting. I met with MP this afternoon and they are refining the drawings to 30% level. They're gonna share that with me, hopefully by the end of next week. I do have them tentatively scheduled to attend our March 14th council meeting to provide an update on the design and update on the project. Remember, we're basically doing the detailed drawings and designs to basically be ready to go to tender. And before, obviously, council will go to tender, we need to have confirmation of our federal grant dollars we've applied for this project. Because it is a significant project. So it's ongoing detail work is happening now. Palestern Pioneer Trail, there is a agenda item on it. So I won't speak to that much. The asset management project, which was funded through a grant from FCM. They are doing the building condition assessments of those 7 buildings. So at the end of the day, my goal from that building condition assessment is to then create a bit of a long-range capital plan. So taking those numbers, saying when we should be replacing this, so we've got it, trying to factor it into creating a long-range capital plan for those buildings. So they've had their structural mechanical engineers out, the electrical site review is yet to be undertaken. So that's working. The other part of that project was to update our infrastructure management plan. So they are we'll be working on that in May and June. So as you're aware, we do have a infrastructure management plan that was done in 2014. So they're basically going to take that plan and update it with the work that's happened since 2014 and look at any other areas that should become more of a priority. If you looked at the 2014 infrastructure management plan, you know there was a lot of projects on that plan. It's just the unfortunate part of government, and the biggest challenge I think for government locally is aging infrastructure. So that's that project they're working on. The runway lighting project at the airport. So I got a confirmation they're hoping to have the detailed drawings done by March 6th. So following that, then we will set up a meeting with the pilots. I want them to review it as our local experts in terms of provide any feedback on what they think of the design to date. I'm pretty confident the design will be pretty accurate. They just replaced, MPs just did the lighting and drum. And I believe they did the Wayne Airport and Concert Airport in the last few years. So I have a pretty good idea on what needs to be done, but I want to involve the pilots and let them review it and provide any feedback. Again, we got a grant for the lighting project. So we're anticipating that project will go to tender probably in April sometime, and work will happen, sometime over the summer. Pioneer Trail, that's the other large capital project, the bridge replacement. So as you're aware, we have submitted an application for grant funding through the province for 75% of that cost. And haven't heard yet. We're anticipating we probably won't hear until April. on whether that application is successful or not. So,
I have a question.
sure.
So you had indicated then that for the Pioneer Trail Bridge replacement would it go beyond the bridge repair as well or not?
It's pretty limited in the fact that it will cover, basically, I think there's 10 meters on either side of the actual bridge onto the road, and then the bridge itself. And
then any of the other surface would be dealt with in addition, in a different project to do with surface.
it would be dealt with in a different project, or if we don't have the dollars to do that project, the bridge will only do 10 meters on either side of the actual
the
bridge
bridge
structure.
But the bridge is the priority.
The dollars for the bridge is for the bridge.
Thank you.
Okay, community center grant, so it's been resubmitted through the green and inclusive building grant, so we'll not sure time frame on that. But it's been resubmitted, so we'll keep our fingers crossed. Just a reminder of the land use bylaw open house, which is next Thursday, the community center from 5 to 8. I will be in attendance, development officer Moll will be in attendance. Tracy Wojtenko from Palliser will be in attendance, and quite possibly Devin Diano from Palliser will be in attendance. We have advertised the open house. We have submitted, I think there was 115 letters were sent out to property owners who we are looking at investigating a potential zoning change. To date, I think the feedback to us and to Palliser, there's been, I think, 5 to 10 property owners who have come in and talked about the respective change to the bylaw, how it will affect them, and ask or address any questions they might have. But it is important to have this. And again, the night on the 23rd is what I would call step one. So it is an opportunity for our residents, for our property owners who have any questions about the proposed changes from the 2012 land use bylaw. It's not like we are creating a land use bylaw for the first time. There's been a land use bylaw in the town of Hanna for a long time. The last time was 2012. So this is just a review, and it's good practice to review every 10 years to see if there's anything that should be changed, updated. And that's what this is. So we want, and we encourage people, if they have questions or concerns, to raise them. And we will do our best to answer the questions as to why we were proposing a change to the land use. Following that meeting, following that open house, we will look at the feedback that's been brought to the meeting, or even from people who maybe couldn't attend the meeting but have brought forward concerns. We will deal with that and bring a report to council. And the next step after that will be to find out how we can incorporate some changes, if there is some changes required. And then the process still does require us to create a bylaw, or create that bylaw, which would need first reading from council. And then again, there's a process that we have to follow in terms of advertising and setting a public hearing. So again, we had a public hearing this evening for one piece of property zoning. This public hearing could be larger if there's more concerns or questions. People have an opportunity to present any questions or concerns they might have prior to council considering second and third. So the message that I want is that the land use bylaw, the new revised one it's available online. It's on our website. Anybody wants to read it. Anybody wants a printed copy, we've made 2 or 3 printed copies. We certainly will make printed copies. There is also a sheet that talks about the specific changes that are being proposed from 2012 to 2023, and narrows it down a little bit, so you don't have to necessarily, you don't want to read the 115 pages. You can focus on the specific changes. So at the end of the day, the goal is to make it more clear, better understand, and better fit the circumstances of our community and our development. So 5 to 8 on the 23rd at the community center. If you're talking to people who have questions for you about that and you're not necessarily sure of the answers, send them that way. That's the best opportunity to have their questions addressed one-on-one, and we're looking forward to that. Municipal addressing project is a bit of a challenge, but we've been working through that with Palliser again with our GIS system. As you know, our 911 system is going to be migrating to a GIS format in the next few years. So it's very important to have the addresses, and they will be using the GIS map off of Palliser and to make sure that the addresses are accurate and correct. 90% of them are good and easy, no problems, but there is some challenges in some areas outside the core where it was developed. And I'll use the mayor's place. I'll also use Canal as a good example in that whole property there, because it was one lot and had a hotel. Oh, okay, we're gonna add this here, we're gonna add this here, we're gonna add this here, in terms of getting them clear, concise addresses. It's not like it's a block of houses and you go down the street and count them. So we are working through that. It's taken us a little longer than we thought because we're finding some challenges and questions that we have to get clear, but we're working through that. Other than that, I don't know if there's much more from me. I'll look, basically, you've got Kevin's report attached. I think council's aware. We did have to replace the electric motor in the ice plant a few weeks ago. The arena's been fairly busy weekends throughout January. February, we had the Mike's tourney. Last weekend, we had the Cowboys tournament. This weekend is the last. This is after this weekend, then things start to go a little sideways or a little south, because all the league playoffs will be done, or all the league will be done as of this weekend. So then it's playoffs, and once teams are out, sometimes they shut it down or close it down. So we could start to see some more quieter time here, but it all depends on how successful our teams are in playoffs.
I ask you one question.
Sure.
If you got quiet time,
Yeah,
are you guys going to open it up for public skating and for the public to use?
we generally will once we know for sure that
For sure,
the
yeah.
difficult part, Counselor Thorough, is sometimes you don't know till a couple of days before the weekend on how they're gonna schedule, who's going. If it's a
Yeah.
home game, away game, where it's all going. So sometimes it's a little later than we'd like to, but we certainly
The
will.
team wraps something up in 2 games and don't
Yeah.
need that third
Yeah.
slot.
So yeah, we're gonna continue to do that. On Michelle's report, the one thing I did want to touch base on a little bit. So our sister town of Waukee reached out to us, probably about a month ago about this, there's this, and I might get it all wrong, but my understanding is there's a large penny candy factory close to Waukee. And they've been starting to, they call it smile, happiness, peace. So they're making these candies, sending them to different communities, sending them to different countries. So they've reached out to us to see if we'd be interested in working with them on creating some sort of event here with our kindergarten kids, and we talked about the play school, bringing them in. And so they are shipping us a bunch of their traditional penny candies that we will be working with the school and with the play school people to set up some sort of event to have them be distributed and talk a little bit about where they came from and why they're here. So it was really neat in all the years that we've been partnered with Wake, and again, through COVID, it was one of the positives of COVID is technology. So we had a great Zoom meeting last week, and it was great to email back and forth with these people, but to, even see them face to face through video was good, and they had an interpreter there and had a really good discussion. So we should be getting the candy later this month. So, and then Michelle's reached out to the Project Reach workers in the school. And I'm not sure she's reached out to the play school yet, but we'll be to set up a date and time to have some sort of event to promote this candy and promote why it's here. So I think that's it. The other thing, just for her sake, if anybody knows of any groups wanting to get established for the spring, we are having our spring registration fair March 7th. So it's usually quieter than the fall one, but we are having that. And just again, I know Drive Happiness is moving slowly, but Michelle was able to provide the statistics for January. So basically there was 7 rides completed. There were 2 canceled by the driver, and 3 times there was no driver available. So we are still looking. Drivers are the key. Volunteer drivers are the key for the program. So we're still working on that. And slowly building. I did talk to Bill Paisley last week, and he's one of our volunteer drivers, and he said he's done about 7 trips in town with I think 3 different people. Primarily it's groceries, but he said it's great. He enjoys it. So we need more Bill Paisleys, and I think we'll be able to have more drivers, pick up more rides, and that program will continue to grow. So I think that's it, unless there's any questions, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Neal, the only question I might ask, just you triggered some interest.
You might ask.
Yeah, for now, is just when you talk about our sister city, Wake, just with being a rep for the AJTMA, was there any desire to have any of us sit in on and make that connection, or how does that work?
I'll be honest, Councillor Warwick, I didn't even think of the committee. They reached out to us, administration to administration, and just wanted to see if we would be willing to facilitate that program at the school. So I apologize. I never even thought of that. They just reached out to me because they normally do from Wake, and I brought Michelle in on it to basically manage that exchange part. So
that's okay. That's fine. I mean, I think of the meetings I've been a part of with the AGTMA, and they'll be thrilled to hear about that, because they're really seeking what our connections are, what level and what is happening. So they will be. And in fact, if you could get me some of those penny candies, so I could maybe take them to the spring conference. They would somehow probably really appreciate that.
Okay, yeah, like I said, they're expecting to ship them here around the end of February. So.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Week from Sister Lake. Have we got a new flag, like a town flag?
Yes, and I've talked to Councilor Warwick. She's hoping to actually hand deliver it at one of her next meetings. So
Anything else? Director of Business Communications.
Thank you. And I click into the points, a few things, few projects, few events. Lots of support for the different departments and activities going on, and I will entertain any questions.
Like what activities?
The events and things through the community services department, the snow removal, anything that you want communicated out to the public.
oh, the other thing, Lori, just I think you mentioned the live barn install is supposed to be next Friday.
Is my understanding. I think it was bumped ahead a week
just with scheduling conflicts, so it should be by the end of the month.
I think everything's empty, it's becoming July shopping in very place, so.
Yeah, so I think that's the date that they were planning their install was February 24th, so.
Any other questions of Lori? None. Director of Public Works.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I have nothing further to add at this point.
It was a main failure, what we indicated.
Yeah, on the old line,
Okay.
the old transfer. line.
Did Mr. Pullman phone you?
Yes, he did.
Jim was away and his facility was one of the ones that were shut down, so he just phoned and wanted to thank me and said he had called you, Brent. Thank you. He wasn't here, so.
Okay, motion to accept all committee or all administrative reports. Councilor Cole. All in favor? All in favor? Carried. Now we have part.
Sure, go on up, Melissa.
Good. I'm Melissa from Farmers Market. We are here to see about renting the curling rink again this summer. Starting from the Mother's Day weekend to the end of August. And we're asking for the same rate as last year. If you're willing to give it to us again.
Did you say what weekend in September did you say, Melissa?
Or the end of the last one in August.
The last one in August,
Yeah.
okay.
Can I ask why you don't go through the harvest season, like when the vegetables are coming up and stuff?
We have discovered that come September, we have maybe 2-3 vendors that will come. It's very, very tricky because everybody is busy, work in school, everything's back again, and our numbers have dropped. Because we went into September a couple of years ago and we had, I think, 4 vendors show up.
Yep.
So it wasn't. Yeah, it didn't look. So we found September is not a good month.
Any questions of Melissa?
How were your numbers? How were your numbers this past year?
For vendors, we have been sitting at 8 to 15 vendors, depending on the week and everybody's holidays. And we've had about 200 people come through each week for the farmers market.
Wow.
Yeah. Isn't it?
What 100 doesn't cost for?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And are they regular or are there some that come on certain weeks and?
The vendors?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have our set regulars, and then we do have some that come every other week. We have one lady who drives out from Calgary just to come up to Hanna's Market. She comes every other week, and then we have Stellar and Wayne and Youngstown, they all come out too.
Have you looked at any other venues? I'm just throwing out there, I'm not saying anything, but.
We've tossed a few ideas around. The curling rink is in the center of town. And everybody seems to like that it's right off the main street and easy to get to, and the big door, wheelchairs are welcome and can get around easily.
Well, it's easy for your vendors too.
Yeah, to load and unload, and we've had great feedback about it being at the curling rink. So we're hoping to continue to use it.
Yeah, it's nice that you're able to provide some additional revenue and see it being used and.
No other questions?
So I just want to make a comment, Mr. Mayor, before you pass your motion, just to make things a little bit clearer. So as Melissa has indicated, and as the letter from Peggy indicated, they were hoping that the town would provide the facility at the same rate as last year, even better if it was less. The process that we've used administratively since they started in 2019, they started with a 33% subsidy. The goal was to try and get to normal rate, not to subsidize the use. And partly the reason for that is when you are subsidizing one group, it's hard to charge full rate to other groups. And the other reason was we know we have another market in town in a private facility who, you know, we don't want, our intention is not to undercut or try and take that market away or do anything. So, but the intention administratively all along was to try and get to no subsidy. So we went from 33% in 2019 to 25% in 2020 to 20% in 2021. Last year, council made the decision to leave it at 20%. Normally, we would have moved to 15%. The recommendation that's in front of you is to move to 15%. So it's a reduction in the subsidy, and it's an additional cost to the farmers market. So that additional cost to the farmers market is $20 per day if they were using the concession, but you haven't the last couple
No,
of
because
years.
that's an extra charge as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah,
And
actually,
no
so,
vendor is willing to pay that.
yeah,
charge.
so without the concession, it would be an additional $14.50 a day in revenue by going to the 15% subsidy from the 20% subsidy. So rather than put a motion out on the floor and have it amended, if the consensus of council is to leave it at to 20% where it was the previous 2 years, that would change the motion to be a subsidized rate of $324 a day plus GST. That's with the concession, or it would be $232 a day without the concession, both of them plus GST. So not sure what the appetite of council is on that, so I'll leave that prerogative to you guys.
I'd like to leave it the same as last year, call it a volume discount. We've got somebody willing to
Yeah.
rent the curling
Yeah.
rink and.
We are also nonprofit, and we do,
Clearly.
we do donate back to organizations in the town as well every year. So a chunk of our funds do go back to the football team, hockey teams, grads, all that stuff too. So that's,
And ultimately, they're only using it for 5 hours. 4 hours.
yeah, from, what is it, 3 to 6, and then an hour or two setup for that.
And they are, Mr. Mayor, they are a very good group.
You clean up after ourselves. except
Very
for-
very minimal of our time to work with them. And as mentioned in the report and made comments around here, the curling rink is underutilized. So it is an opportunity to get some dollars back to our into our coffers, which is always nice.
Where do you show those donations going back into the community on your profit loss?
That's a Peggy question.
So I would think that should show as part of
it
an
should,
expense or something going out, and it doesn't show anything here.
Yeah,
So-
that would be a Peggy question.
Do you have any idea about how much goes in?
Depends on what we use them for, like what they do for us. We've donated up to $500. Depending on, like for Christmas markets, they collect the tables, bring them in, set them up for us, help us arrange them. And then at the end of the Christmas market, they pack them all up, take them back. Same with, we've had teams helping us unload, or one of them here helping us unload tables. To just in general to help, and depending on what group does what, depends on what gets donated out to them.
Melissa, I'm just curious, like, how much does it cost
per table to have? Is it based on space? Is it based
No,
on
it's $15.
$15 no matter what? And is there any incentive programs at the beginning of season? Say you have a vendor, you'll commit to our season was this long, we have 15 or 20 shows or whatever, and you get it for this price, and have people give you those dollars up front as a vendor, and whether they come or not, is there anything like that that kind of gets?
No, because there's always the ones that will say they'll come every week and then something comes up and they don't come every week.
So you don't have guaranteed dollars at all from week to week?
No.
So just to clarify, to make sure we're on the same page, it's $15 per table.
Per table.
So if you are a vendor and you take 4 tables, you're
It's
paid
$45.
$60. It's not 15,
Okay, I
it's
see.
$15 per table.
And when was that last looked at or increased?
We've had discussions about that. The only issue we have is over half our vendors are low income and seniors. So if we raise our prices and they don't sell anything, they're out that money each time at the market and they don't want to come back. Because it's not worth it to them to lose 20, 25 bucks if we raise our prices and not sell anything.
Do you bring anybody into the farmer's market to try and draw others?
We do. We have Project Reach comes in, the Hanna Library has come in,
Museum.
the museum has come in, whatever programs that are out there, we offer for them to come in and advertise and do activities with everybody.
And is that advertised through the town or how do you advertise?
Again, that's.
There might be
We
something that-
advertise on Facebook and word of mouth.
That might be, is that something that the town?
It would definitely fit
Yeah.
on the community calendar because
Activities.
even though the vendors are for profit, because they're operating as a business, it could be advertised as a farmer's market, which is a not for profit.
Yeah, at no charge, so then you could have free advertisement of those special dates where you've got other activity to draw people in that maybe they're not aware otherwise. Just a thought.
Would be a good opportunity for the relatives as well. Would be a good opportunity with the relatives to come and have a presentation once in a while.
Well, I was there last
I
year.
was gonna say, I thought we were there
I had a couple.
once.
Yeah, I had a couple.
Yeah, we're open. If everybody wants to come and advertise and share what they're doing in the community, there's always.
We just want to
Always a
help.
table.
Increase.
We're trying.
Or to have it in conjunction with something else, is there the youth thing going on this year as far as the? Oh, geez.
Well, the team fair.
Yes. Is there, would they allow something like that involved in that or not?
Yeah, I just don't know what, they would do there, but they are planning a team fair for September.
Anyways, it's kind of nice to be able to partner with another group if you've got something else going on.
I can definitely talk to Peggy and.
Thank you.
Well, I would make the motion to leave the rates the same. as last year, Mr. Mayor.
So, yeah, just so we're clear,
Not the recommended one.
when the mayor reads the motion out, it would be $324 a day. And it would be $232 versus the numbers that are in there.
Okay. Okay. Like that, stay my vote for this. Yeah.
Yep, no, you can, well, you can abstain, Councilor Thurl, but you can declare conflict of interest.
Also authorize administration to enter into a rental agreement with the Hanna Farmers Market to use the Hanna curling rink to host a weekly farmers market at a subsidized rate of $324.
Yes,
Okay, plus GST when using the concession. Or sorry, yeah, $324 in the concession and
$232.
$232 when not using the concession. Motion, Council Olson, all in favor? Carried.
Oh, yeah,
Oh, abstain,
did you- yeah, so you should call a post. You
Yeah.
didn't,
opposed, sorry. Okay.
Oh,
Carried.
wait a minute, I didn't, okay. Run that by me again. How does this work? So this is for the increased rate?
No,
no, it's for the same rate as
Same rate.
last
Oh,
year.
I'm sorry. I wanted to support the same rate. Yeah.
okay.
Yes.
All in favor? Carried.
Okay.
Yeah, I read the new rates into the revised.
Well, you
rates.
threw me because he just gave us an intro on it, so I don't need help to be confused. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, kids are excited.
Yes, it's been a long time. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
Be honest.
No, no, you don't have to leave. You don't.
No.
You can stay.
You can stay as long as you want.
No, we do go over Dennis, and I believe it or not.
On that.
The mayor leaves, we leave.
I'm not ready to go out again, so,
That's a problem.
yeah.
I am. Thank you for your honesty. Great.
Okay, 9.02, the fall rubber sale date.
So as I explained, Mr. Mayor, I usually will have a administrative recommendation. And I do not have an administrative recommendation. So I do believe, and there could be more, but I do believe is three options. One being, if you want some time to think about what you heard tonight, you can table a decision to a later date, or if there's any additional information you feel you need that we might be able to get before you make a decision. I think the second option would be to confirm the traditional date, which in this case would be September 30th for the rummage sale in the arena, and inform minor hockey that the anticipated ice availability will not be until October 7th. Or I think the third option is you inform the hospital auxiliary that the arena is not available the date of September 30th and request that they choose an alternative date or stay with the original date of September 30th with potentially access only to the curling rink. So there could be some more options. Those were the three I think that stood out to me. I don't believe there's a need to make a decision tonight. There still is time. But it's totally up to council, whichever direction they want to go this evening.
There's a lot of passion on both sides. I think I'd like each and every one of you to have your moment of fame to voice your opinion. And I think we'll leave it for the next meeting to decide, but listening to what everyone has to say as far as supporting changing or and routes are told.
I think it should stay the same as it is. The rummage sale has definitely supported this town for many years. It's something that I'll tell you, without them, our hospital would definitely do. You know, it's that simple. I mean, they've bought stuff for 50 years up there. Minor hockey, I mean, a week, if we got some NHL stars, they won't be playing hockey here anyways. They'll be gone, they'll be drafted off somewhere, you know. They've gotten along without the ice for the last 40 years, whatever it's been. That's my feelings. I'm more supportive of that rummage sale thing where it's at than.
The short version or the long version?
You got time?
I guess I'm going to make some reference to activity that happened a couple weekends ago that Hanna minor hockey kind of has an obligation to control their parents. Or to have some influence in some parents that a select few, very few, that are ruining it for others. And unless Hanna minor hockey addresses that, I am not supporting. I'm not supporting I want the rummage sale to stay the same. So I'm not supporting a move to give them another week.
Council Warwick?
If I can just join to what Sandra just said, I always feel sad that we ostracize children if it is an activity that involves, the parents or adults in the crowd. So when it comes to ostracizing children at that capacity, I never favor it. I think we need to put actions in place to, have a better place, a better environment, but not at the cost of our children sacrificing our children. I really appreciated the collaboration that I heard between the two entities when they came together, just, supporting one either way, wanting their own piece. And I understood it, the passion behind it, the years and the interest they have put into the rummage sale and to minor hockey. And I appreciated that when I, listened to them as they were leaving the room, that both of them really were going to support one another, no matter what the outcomes were. In my mind, I was thinking, maybe this would be an opportunity to try a pilot project this year and maybe have a consideration of the change of dates and see what that looked like. If it was in fact works in favor of, the rummage sale, having, a successful event again with the support of minor hockey and others, and still accumulate the dollars they need to put back in our community, and yet giving minor hockey also the opportunity to use the facility as intended. The arena was intended for hockey. And that's all I'll say at this point.
Council Olson?
Yeah, I like the idea of using our facilities. We catch a lot of flack for anything underused. So I sure would like to see that extra week to get ice in there. And they're not losing a sale. It would be a change. Of course, it'll be an effort, but as Kendall pointed out, and we can certainly hold them to that I do think they would commit. They've offered that in the past of, helping if it was to shift, if that was the concern. I know there's more than just getting the volunteers to show up, but if that's one major concern, that's a big resource to have those, 120 families that are involved in Hanna minor hockey to help out with it. And I do believe when he says he could get a lot of bodies there.
Well,
So-
yeah, but the rummage sale is already paying the rent for the arena. And like they
Council
said,
Cole, it's,
Yeah, and they would still use that as well for whether it's the 30th or the week before, or the curling rink plus the community center, whatever options we can dream up. When it's just more use of the facility entirely. So instead of leaving it the weekend before where it's not used, or that August 30th weekend not used, the rummage sale would go there, whatever would fit best for them. But I would like to see the ice go in that week early and then commit to volunteering.
Council Carroll?
Oh, let me see, ponder on this. I'm in favor of leaving it as is, nothing against minor hockey, but, I see where they both come from, but, as his volunteering, and nothing against minor hockey, but, we asked them to step in to do highway cleanup last year, and when it come to the date, they refused to come out to donate their labor to get a half of the wage. So I just, they say they'll do it, but unless it's in writing, I don't trust it. So I'd like to leave it the way it is.
I think we need to consider who our primary user of the arena is. It's the largest user being Hanna minor hockey. We talk all the time about better utilizing our facilities. This is an opportunity to put another week into the arena with the hockey. As far as the costs, I think they're measurable. We're not kicking the rummage sale out. As far as the volunteers, I know of several that have offered to help and have been scolded because they didn't put this shirt in the right place or that shirt in the right place, or they weren't welcomed after they volunteered. It's not a good place. I mean, I donate to the rummage sale every year. I support the rummage sale, but I think they need to look at the bigger picture. As far as some of the younger volunteers, why you wouldn't let a 17-year-old kid help you set up? Maybe you need some guidance, but that's a volunteer that you have that could possibly help you out in the future. It's no different than the group that ran the SPCA in the past. They were turning volunteers away because they weren't the right people. I think we just need to think outside the box a little bit. That's my recommendation would be the number 3, where we allow them to put the ice in the arena on the 30th, or for the 30th, allow the rummage sale to operate in the curling rink. They haven't always had the arena. This is something that's relatively new. And with that said, maybe it's the community center that we set them up in for the larger items. Just my thoughts. We'll bring this back to a motion or proposed motion next meeting. Everybody take some time, chew on it, think about it.
So I think with that, Mr. Mayor, if we do, our motion leaving tonight would be to table the decision.
Correct.
And I would, if you want to bring it back for the March 14th meeting, then we would indicate that we would table it to the March 14th.
Okay, so can we get a motion to table the decision to the March 14th meeting? Councilor Bowden, all in favor?
So just a question for council. Those that are debating one way or the other, I guess it's probably more for the councilors who are supportive of keeping the original date is if I was able to get a confirmation from minor hockey that they would supply a significant number of volunteers. Is that any information that's of any value to you in your decision making?
No. What about, well, I mean, the community center,
That's hard to get this. Yeah.
well, how do you haul? Because what they're gonna use it, well, I guess they either set up the folding tables in there and then use the curling rink for the furniture and bigger items. Which is easier access because of the overhead door, right?
But you're taking stuff back and forth between two different.
That's,
Mr. Mayor, is there a crossover between, like, they already said there was mention, I mean, I made a bunch of notes here that they use a football team. Are some of those football players also hockey players?
Most of them.
So I'm confused at some level then to think that we're saying that, students aren't showing up, they're not participating, they're not doing this and that, but in fact they are, and it was stipulated here tonight. The other thing that I took note of, and I asked specifically, was the age of the individuals that in fact were there working. And Gloria specifically said that a majority of the individuals that were there were retired.
Yeah.
They were not active farmers or business people. They were in fact retirees. So I'm considering all the things that have been said, I never believe in ostracizing children at any level. You know what? I think the parents' right measures have to be put in place and getting these children out to do these, and working with them to do it. And in fact, I've worked the rummage sale for several years. There has been a lot of incidents, and it actually saddened me in a lot of ways. I do not work it anymore. And the fact that they do not allow anybody, I belong to a couple of non-for-profits myself, and we welcome the younger generations, maybe not the 7-year-olds.
Yeah.
But the more responsible ones, we're inviting them in to be a part of our organizations. You know what, if we have, senior, well-trained people at these tables doing this stuff, surely to goodness, they could be a support in training. We need to train up the next generation. And now is the time to do it, because I know that looking around there, and I have some older friends that do work there, it's hard on them. And they have no younger support. Nobody's coming forth. But now, maybe it'd be an opportunity to invite those ones in.
The other side, and I apologize, we're chasing 120 families to Drumheller for a week. And while they're down there,
Yes, they are. And food.
yeah. I mean, I went down and did evaluations for the U18s and U11s this year. And I spent 2 full days down there. So that's 2 meals while I was down there.
Yeah, but if they were here, they wouldn't be eating out, they'd be eating at home, so they're not.
But it's the
putting
fact
money
that
back
money
in
is
either.
not going out.
The
of
fact that I was in Drumheller, I also went shopping at Walmart and Canadian Tire. As did everyone else that went down there. I should say everyone,
it gives you something to
I
ponder.
know.
yeah,
Uh,
it's just, it's
Just
just. a
want to
thought.
work together.
Yeah.
I
Oh, no,
want,
for sure.
you know what, I
Nothing
don't want to be divisive. I want to somehow, I feel like we can work together to make it work somehow.
Okay, so we've got a motion to table it till the next meeting. Chew on it, think about it, wrestle with it, and we'll put it to a vote next meeting. Next on the agenda is the Town of Hanna entrance donation sign.
Mr. Mayor, I think you did vote for
Yep.
the tabling. but-
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Much faster could they load tables?
That one I know I did. Okay, so the Town of Hanna entrance sign, council approved a donation of the Town of Hanna entrance sign to the Calgary Flames alumni as a 70th birthday gift for Lanny McDonald.
So just to update, we did talk about it at the council info session just to gauge the interest, so. We have been back, Lori has been back and forth, with Mr. Coates, working with him and, photo person in terms of creating a photo, so they do have a photo that they're getting framed. The Town of Hanna entrance sign with home of Nickelback and Lanny McDonald on it. To give him, I think here right away for his birthday. And I did tell Mr. Coates that I would be discussing the donation of an actual entrance sign with council this evening, and we'll get back to him tomorrow. And he's been very appreciative of the work Lori's done working with him, and very appreciative of us considering it. And he does believe that having the sign would be well received by Lanny, and I think it's a good opportunity. We've got 3 signs. We haven't made a decision on where the signs will go. We know they will come down end of March when they're installing the new ones. I do believe one should be donated to the museum, but leaves 2 others, and I think it would be a good idea to donate the one to the Flames alumni. So
He seems to think it would be positioned in his saloon,
yeah.
one of his restaurant bars in Montana. It's got 2.
When was the last time Lanny was visited Hannah? Do we have any idea when?
I have no idea.
I have a comment regarding that as well, is that, Calgary Flames alumni, the people that could probably more afford to donate something to the town, for a sign, we're looking at giving to, and those that can barely, pay for certain things, we're asking them to pay. It just sort of seems, it would be nice, it's nice to give things away, but it would also be nice if they could donate something back to the town as well, in exchange for this gift for people that can more than afford it, I would think.
Yeah,
I know the Flames alumni have donated to various functions in town. Be it a jersey for a leukemia or
a fundraiser.
yeah, whatever it is. I know when we did hockey tournaments, when I was on the provincial board here, there was always something from the Flames donated as far as a raffle prize or something. Nothing significant, but a set of tickets or a jersey or something. So
I just think I guess from my perspective is I don't know what the value of a sign is. And secondly, I think it gives us some really good exposure for the town of Hanna, for people who are visiting Lanny, visiting his establishment. I just think it gives us some positive exposure
and
there.
I know Brent wanted one for each end of the shop, but
Well, what about asking a donation towards the SPCA? You know, if we've got these nonprofits that are struggling and they're so supportive of other nonprofit things, maybe that could be an ask that we would say, you know, sure appreciate it. You know, if you had it in your heart to say maybe they could donate something towards the Hanna Sky pet, the SPCA. Never hurts to ask anyways, you don't have to put it out there. But you can also, you know, ask them that. I'm sure they're aware that times are tough in our areas. They may not see it, but maybe that's a way that there could be some extra funding go into some of our nonprofits.
I
It's
don't
certain,
think Lanny's asking for the sign.
I know he's not
We're
asking.
gonna
I
throw it
understand
away if
that
we
too as
don't.
well. These guys are looking at it. It never hurts to ask.
no, I
Well,
think,
I'm
I think, if council's comfortable, I think if they do approve this motion, certainly it's something that we can put a
It builds
bug in.
faith.
We can, one, I think it builds faith, and hopefully when they do see requests from Hanna for fundraisers, they acknowledge that and go, yeah, they were good to us, they did this, so we're gonna do that. It's certainly an option to put a bug in there too, if they do want to, you know, consider a donation, that they could consider a donation, but it would be, you know,
That's all I'm saying is,
posed to them in that manner, so.
well, that's all I'm saying is it wouldn't hurt to put a bug in there
Yeah.
to maybe support our SPCA or our farmers market or
Something they
something.
call it in its own, you know.
Or whatever, or the hospital.
They always have silent auctions and stuff, don't they?
Yeah.
Like, or using it, and then they use them.
Yeah.
My kids are in it. You know, and if they, the guy bought autographed pucks from Landing Farm, you know, and stuff like different things like that, so.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's not gonna be contingent on the donation.
No,
But yeah, you're
But
right,
it's a
to
good
certainly to ask.
suggestion.
Put that
To
bug in
ask,
their ear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if they're big organizations.
Okay, so can we get a motion to council approve donation to county Hanna entrance signs to Calgary Clubs alumni as many.
Vern had his hand up, he's ready to do it.
So I don't even have to ask if it's approved or not.
It's serious.
Counselor Farrell, I think, let's make that motion. All in favor? Carried. God, that was one of the easier ones we've done.
My mom opened the file.
Must be almost 9.
Had everybody volunteering.
Okay, on to 9.04, correct?
Yeah.
2023 operating budget amendment, preliminary detailed design, Palliser and Pioneer Trail Road Rehabilitation Project. Everybody had a chance to look through it?
So, Mr. Mayor, I don't know if you want to put the motion on the floor and then I can,
We could do that. You get a motion, the council accept the 2023 operating budget to include an amount of $142,300 to complete the preliminary detailed design, engineering work required for Palliser and Pioneer Trail Road Rehabilitation Projects with funds delivered from accumulated surplus. Geez, nobody wants to make that motion. Come on.
Sure.
Councilor Olson.
so, Mr. Mayor, we've talked a few times about both those roadways. They're deteriorating significantly. And unfortunately, you know, we're gonna have to bite the bullet and spend some significant dollars to address them. So as you've seen there, preliminary estimates just based on quick site looks is basically to mill, track fill and overlay from Palliser Trail, from Highway 9 to Fox Lake Trail, and from Pioneer Trail to the CN Reservoir is estimated at $2.7 million. So significant cash outlay required. What I am recommending this year, and you'll note through their proposal that they think that the road is seriously degrading, and they don't want us to put this off much longer, or it will be a total reconstruct. And then you're pushing around $4 million total reconstruct. So if council wishes or council approves this, I would like them to be able to move forward with doing their preliminary and detailed design work on the road, on that specific portions of the roads, so that we're ready for tender and it's a shovel-ready project. Quite often, you'll hear people say, do you have a shovel-ready project? And that's been one of the downfalls of the town in the past is willing to spend the engineering dollars up front. And I do think that there's no way around.
Just it's a
doing
project
this
that
work.
needs to be done.
It needs to be done. The challenge will be how we're gonna fund it. And I think the first step is getting this stuff done so it's ready for detailed design. And we can then get some better numbers and we can look at how we're gonna fund that and move it forward. And I would suggest that we would move it forward no later than the 2024 construction season. And even then, we will have poor condition entrance roads through 2023. So I don't know if there's any questions. That's
I get, the only question Counselor, the only question I have, if we do this preliminary, that is still good for next year and the year after, and the year after.
yeah, the design won't change.
No,
This will give them the ability to do their core tests. It will give them the ability to do their penetrating infrared to determine what the base is like. Who knows? And there's no guarantee, Mr. Mayor, we get through and they do that work and they go, oh, the base might have to be redone. But at least going through that work, they'll know whether that base is going to be redone and then starting on it and then finding out. So.
yeah, I'm not an expert. I'm guessing Pioneer's base is probably very solid. I'd be more concerned about Palliser base. Yeah.
The graphic here on Pioneer Trail, the bridge project, how much would that actually consume of that? On the graphic, because it does cover, but I'm assuming that just includes the
it's
overlay. over top of the
probably,
bridge.
what would the bridge length be? 20 meters?
Yeah, about that.
20,
It's not
so
that big.
you might lose 10 on either side. It might be 40 meters of that. That would not have to be done.
I have a question.
Comfortable.
So why isn't it going all the way to Fox Lake on Pioneer Trail? Because that isn't as degraded.
Correct.
It's in better shape.
It's in better shape. I'm not gonna sit here and say it's in great shape, but it's in better shape
It can last
than
longer.
the rest.
Heavier traffic would turn down railway
Yeah.
more often.
Yeah, there's still a bit of heavy. There's
That's for
still a
whatever
fair bit of
reasons.
heavy traffic on going north on it, but it is in better shape right now than the others.
I think we should go after Calgary and ask them to pay some of our money for our expenses for the
They'll pay for it. We'll call it the Lanny Road.
Lanny Trail.
Calgary's trash littering rural Alberta on the way to Coronation and how many vehicles.
And there's no doubt that that's part and parcel of the Palliser to Second Avenue, because a lot of them will use Petrochem, so.
Tim Hortons and, yeah. Anyways, that was aside.
Okay.
Where's this money coming from?
From surplus.
And it's not getting any cheaper.
You're 100% right there.
My only concern is it a project that's big enough to get any interest?
Oh, I think that one would be.
Cause it's quick and easy, right?
Yeah.
It would just be a mill and a pave and for 2.7 and you throw that in quick. I think it would draw interest that way.
Yeah,
Because you're not doing a complete
I
reconstruction.
thought that our little walkway was big enough to.
Yeah, but that's small equipment that
Yeah.
you can bring in your.
I
big
do
pavers.
think the magnitude, if it is in the 2.5 range, we would get some significant. And especially the advantage of doing the work this summer on the design means you can tender it whenever you want at an opportune time. I know with the trail stuff, we were tendering it not at an opportune time either. We'd have been able to tender that stuff in January, February.
For
Might have been a
work,
better
spring, summer work.
might have been a better response, but they were already committed and trying to fit it in, and I do believe it's big enough, it'll draw some interest, so.
Okay.
And so where did you say then the balance of the money will come from for the actual work? Is that gonna be through?
Oh, we haven't determined that, Council Bowden, at this point in time. It will probably be, depending on, there's some variables in place, depending on whether our downtown project goes ahead. Because if our downtown project goes ahead, we've got a significant contribution to it. If our bridge goes ahead, we got a significant matching contribution there. So some of those are delayed for whatever reason, that might free up some of that money. I know eventually though, the plan would be we want to get that stuff done. We might be looking at dipping into our reserves significantly, or a combination, maybe borrowing and reserves to come up with the 2.7. I don't believe our federal government and our provincial government are going to all of a sudden come up with additional infrastructure dollars. The hope is that they could, and you've got a shovel-ready project to move forward with, but it'll be one of those where we might have to look at some different types of funding in terms of whether we're going to borrow, whether we're going to dip significantly into reserves.
Special areas?
Special areas, it's not really there. We've had the discussion with them. It's not really their mandate, and it's our road. And I think if we start getting significant upgrades from them into our roads, it spreads them into all the other communities. They had suggested to have a discussion with Alberta Transportation, and certainly we could look at that to see if they have any dollars that, even though it's not their road, whether it's a resource road that they might then look at funding, so.
They're talking about going over it with some heavy loads here, so maybe that's what they're talking about.
So, yeah, so the next part is the tough part. But we'll be in a better position to make those decisions.
Okay, all in favor of the motion? Very.
So you can skip to 10-2 now.
That's just gonna say, yes, I'm getting there.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, can we have a 3-minute break?
We'd like to go to adjournment or
A recess.
a recess for 3.5 minutes. Go.
Thank you.
You're on the clock.
29.
to call the meeting back to order.
Yeah. Okay, we'll call the meeting back to order. Council gives second reading to bylaw 1029/2023 land use amendment motion. Councilor Kroll, all in favor?
So, yeah, so just so everyone, so that was the purpose of our public hearing
That was
tonight.
the same one, okay.
Purpose of the public hearing and the rezoning of that lot.
Okay, it's good.
Motion that council give the third reading to bylaw 1029/2023 land use amendment. Councilor Bowden, all in favor? Carried. On to 10-03. Council give first reading, boy, that was easy to say. Council give first reading to bylaw 1030-2023 advertising bylaw. The council authorize a public hearing for bylaw 1030/2023 be held on March 14th, 7 p.m. in council chambers of town office to allow for any person who claims that he or she is affected prejudicially by bylaw 1030/2023 an opportunity to be heard in council for further notice of public hearing to be advised. Background, Mr. Nolan.
So background, I think council's aware that February 22nd is the last day of print for the Hanna Herald. So currently, the MGA under section 606 says the municipality must give notice of certain bylaws, resolutions, meetings, elections, notice of nomination day, advance votes, public hearings, or other things by advertising in a newspaper or publication circulating in the area, mailing or delivering a notice to every residence in the affected area. Or if you pass an advertising bylaw or by another method provided for in a bylaw under 606.1. So 606.1 came in several years ago when the cost of print advertising was getting expensive, but yet there was a requirement in the MGA that you had to advertise in a particular newspaper. So the option has been there for several years that we put together an advertising bylaw. Administratively, we haven't done that because we wanted to support the local business, the Hanna Herald, and we had what I considered to be a very effective rate for a one-page ad 52 weeks of the year. With that option being removed, we are asking to create an advertising bylaw. What will happen basically if council approves this bylaw is it does allow us to then advertise using any methods we so choose to advertise these respective notices, public hearings and stuff like that. So we would use these methods and some more often than others, but it would allow us to advertise electronically by posting the complete notice of the proposed bylaw, resolution, or other thing to be held predominantly on the Town of Hanna official website, a minimum of 14 days before the event. And these are all and/or, so we can do one or we can do multiple electronically by posting the notice prominently on any of the Town of Hanna's official social media sites, published in a local weekly newspaper, having hard copies available at the town office for viewing, posting the notice predominantly or prominently on the bulletin board provided for that purpose in the town office, referring interested parties to the town's website for more comprehensive details. We can still by mail. Potentially, we do use our utility bill, and if the timing was right, we could have an insert in the utility bill. And I know we do have an email news subscription that we do use, that we could use that, any of those methods. So we need to, again, because we're looking at a change, we need to have first reading and then go through advertising that we're going to do this and then have a public hearing before council can consider second and third.
So you said either or, Could we not use a combination
Oh,
of?
sorry,
And-
I didn't, I don't, if I said either or, I apologize,
No, it
it's
says
and or,
and or.
so
Okay,
we can use one or we can use 9,
okay, perfect.
depending on what it is and what we're trying to get the message out for.
Is it not easier just use the ECA review or central review and change nothing and just start advertising in there? Doesn't that?
That is an option, that is,
Because we're
an op-
already doing everything here anyways.
it just saves you potentially if council says, I don't want to spend the $1,000 advertising this development permit, notice of development permit. In the, and I don't know if it's $1,000, it's $500 in the ECA review. We are, and just to complicate things, it's just the timing, so our info meeting next week, we are going to have the focus on advertising options and what we might do. We have invited, the ECA review here, we have invited, the Drumheller Mail here to, provide what they think, they both want our business. But how they can accommodate us at what rate and where we're at. We do think things will change. Because we don't think we'll get the same rate that we got from the Hanna Herald. And I do follow the EPA review. I do read it religiously. It's mostly about government, but I like reading that paper. And I don't notice any other municipality doing advertising their events and council meetings and stuff like we use the Hanna Herald for. But you're right, Councilor Olson, we could specifically continue to use that as a method for public hearings, trying to be as transparent as possible, which is our goal. So
Yeah.
this just gives us the option to, if we choose not to, for whatever particular reason. My initial thought is we would probably use that publication a lot more than we have, especially when it initially comes to any statutory requirements that we otherwise would have had to use the Herald. One of the examples is gonna be this actual advertising for this bylaw, because we are working right now on the 22nd paper. So it will go out, it's required to go in twice. There won't be another paper for it to go into, so we'll probably have to use the ECA review. Because this bylaw will not be in effect, so.
My other comment on this bylaw, I don't like the whole bunch of and ors. Like reading through it, there's nothing too onerous to leave them all as we'll do 1 and 2, except for the post mail and the town's utility. Like leave those as and ors, but the rest I think can be ands.
Okay,
To commit to all those. Just the post mail and the utility bill just doesn't often work for timing, and post mail is archaic.
but that's one of the things we're looking at too, is we're factoring in the cost to discuss with you guys next week, the cost of a mail drop. So what would it cost us, whether it's a weekly or monthly, to put a mail drop in every post office box in Hanna? Right.
Trying to cover all the bases, keeping in mind the purpose that we advertised in the Herald, and there was 2 main purposes. The first one was to hit the people who don't necessarily, don't have social media or internet or computers or aren't comfortable. And then secondly, many times as staff and administration were asked, well, I didn't know about that. How come I didn't know about that? And as soon as you say it was in the paper, they back down. So it's kind of been a way for us to communicate or be very transparent with what's been happening as well. So the intent is to kind of bring back full options. That's why we don't have them all available for tonight. And it'll be a little bit more of a discussion too.
What about our kiosks? Yeah,
Oh, sorry, that's one that totally slipped my mind. I don't know if we would rely on those.
no,
Yeah, it could be another and or.
You could call that as a
or,
bulletin board, basically.
Yeah.
It just happens to be a digital.
Yeah.
It would fit in that category.
yeah. And we'll have to come back to you with a plan in terms of what will trigger what
Yeah.
form of advertising. So, for example, if it's a statutory requirement that it was supposed to be in a newspaper, we'll probably come back with a plan that says for any statutory documents, i.e. this, and this, we will advertise using these methods. If it's an event or advertising a council meeting, we will probably only focus on putting it on our website and on social media.
And is that specified in this bylaw there?
The bylaws open in terms of what methods we could choose to use.
And then you'll have a
Maybe do
policy in
that in a
place?
policy.
Yeah, then we'll have a policy when we've got a more definitive answer in terms of, for these things, we're going to do this, and this. For these, we'll do this, and this. For this, we'll do this. Just so you guys as council have a comfort level in terms of how we're putting information out.
Yeah, if there's a policy there to back this up, I just don't like or, because really you could go by this and say, oh, I threw it in the utility newsletter.
Or you can
And
say,
you're-
I
and
put
you're
a
good
poster,
because it does
put a
that.
poster on the bulletin board.
Yeah,
So we're good. No,
Well, you
that's
don't even
not
have
our-
to use and actually. You don't have to, because you're not gonna use one or the other, or you can use all of them every time. Because if you
Some
are.
situations
some
might
of
use
them
Some
will.
situations.
And
we
some,
might.
so then you don't need the and or the or. It can be presented in this file, included in the following. So it could be any which one, right?
It makes it not clear, but it does make it clearer to.
Well, because and means inclusive of the next. So you know what, yeah,
It's a bylaw.
you're not gonna use every one,
No, well, there may be
So-
times we do.
yeah, some documents might.
and that's fine, you can too. Administration doesn't need to be capitalized.
Yeah.
So-
So the option here is I guess my recommendation would be to approve first reading, the public hearing, and we'll have a discussion next week on further options on advertising. And then if council wishes to amend the bylaw prior to second and third reading by taking and doors out or whatever, we can certainly do that at that time.
Okay, motion. Council Olson. I have to read this again, correct?
No,
Okay.
Is that two motions?
it's two motions, so we should probably vote on first reading and we should probably have a motion for the public hearing.
Which motion would you like to make,
That first one.
first one? Okay. All in favor of the first one? All in
First
favor,
reading.
all in favor of the public hearing? Carried.
Making that motion too.
The second one, who made
He's
the
put his
second?
smear his name on everything.
Who made the second?
Counselor Warwick.
Council worked it, okay.
Council reports. Councilor Carroll.
I attended the land bylaw review on January 17th. And we attended the town of Hanna info session on January 25th. And the community service board on January 30th.
Councilor Olson.
I have nothing else to add. What's on my report there?
Councilor Warwick.
I too have nothing more to add. It's been a very busy few weeks, but good weeks of learning.
Councilor Golden.
I have nothing to add.
Councilor Kroll.
Nothing there.
I submitted mine late. I do apologize. I too was very busy with the various presentations and public appearances and I'm on the Red Deer River Municipal Users Group executive now. Not by choice, I was kind of sentenced to that. I'd like to thank Councilor Campion for that, actually. And I'm going to the Emperor's birthday party on Friday. in Calgary. So, other than that, that's it. Any discussion? Nothing. Except the course, sorry, 1 second. Except the council report for information. Of Olson. All in favor? Carried. Correspondence. Anything jump off the page to anybody?
Don't think so. The interesting one there, a lot of people haven't been around the table here long enough, is the Saywell one on the energy for waste. Project would be 12.3. That project's been in study since I've been here in the last 10 years. It looks like they're getting some headway. And again, that could become a potential option for Big Country waste down the road. Versus the landfill they are looking to establish this in Brooks. So, the trucking cost to Brooks would have to be factored in terms of what that cost is versus the cost of running our own landfill. But it is potentially another option to look at down the road. I imagine it's still a few years away from being up and functioning, but that project has been worked on for at least 10 years, so.
Mr. Mayor, I just have one question. Sometimes when I go through and I read through all this correspondence, I think sometimes we've been ahead of the 8 ball, sometimes we're behind and then I sometimes wonder if we have proactively maybe put some of our concerns out there to other municipalities and maybe some of the ministries as well. And I just throw that out there. I just kind of, when I read some of the letters and how we're getting letters from, Fox Creek and all these different places with their concern, should we proactively be sending letters out? I mean, we've addressed our concerns locally. We've spent some time in conversations. Alberta Health Services, I'll just use that one because it's a little bit more prevalent right now. Should we maybe send some correspondence out to, other municipalities as well? Is that kind of standard protocol? Is that something, or I mean, sometimes I wonder, why are we getting this? Just because you want to tell us?
The reason it's coming to you as correspondence because it's usually addressed to mayor and council.
Right.
It's not the standard practice. You will see through these, there's 2 or 3, maybe 3 or 4 notorious. I'm not saying they're wrong, but when they do have a concern and send a letter, they send it to all municipalities. It's a little bit less onerous now because they can email them.
Right.
They don't have to spend the money to mail out 400 letters to 400 municipalities. But certainly if there was something that I think the town of Hanna was taking a strong position on, it certainly could be an option.
Like, I can't think of one that we've reacted to or wanted to do so. I mean, often we'll support it. It's not a unique concern, but there has been one that I can remember that we've reacted to and taken some action due to their letter.
I think there was, maybe it had something to do with the ambulance service, or I think there was something that we did.
And sometimes I don't think it's a bad thing, a little bit of gravel me, because some of these situations will come to me as, motions and conversations and whatnot. So I just put that out there, just kind of wondering sometimes in the back of my mind. So of course as I sit and think about it, I just think next time I'm there, I'm going to ask what, sort of some of the protocol is.
Okay, motion to accept correspondence for information. As forward. All in favor? Carried. Do we have a closed session?
Yes, we do.
Sorry.
Motion to go into closed session.
I get to go there.
Well, thanks.